All right, good evening, everyone. We are ready to start this meeting. Welcome to this May 19th meeting of the Somerville School Committee. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2025, this meeting of the School Committee will be conducted via hybrid participation. We will post an audio recording, audio-video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of these proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting on the City of Somerville website and local cable access government channels. Dr. Carmona, will you please call the roll?
Through the chair, Ms. Piton.
Present.
Dr. Ackman.
Here.
Mr. Green.
Here.
Mr. Piton.
Here.
President Pineda-Nufel. Mayor Ballantyne. Ms. Barish.
Here.
Dr. Phillips.
Here.
Chair Kripchen.
Here.
We have quorum.
All right, we will start with a moment of silence and a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, a nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will now introduce our interpreters. Spanish, if you want to unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Daniela Caride. I was supposedly assigned for Portuguese, but I can also do Spanish. That is fine. So I'm going to introduce myself in Spanish right now.
Okay, thank you.
Hola, soy Daniela Caride. Voy a tener un canal de interpretación para ustedes que quieren interpretación en español. Es solamente apretar el botón del mundo en el Zoom abajo de todo y escoja, por favor, español. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Haitian Creole, if you could introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Angie Supri. I'll be your Haitian Creole interpreter for tonight. Bonsoir tout le monde. Nom c'est Angie Supri. Je suis interprète créole haïtien pour nous asseoir. Si nous besoin créole haïtien, tant pis regarder en bas page là, cliquer sur globe là pour nous choisir français pour créole haïtien. Merci.
Great, thank you so much. And just so everyone in the audience is aware, we are going to take things slightly out of order. We will have our valedictorian and salutatorian, and then our presentation from the robotics team. We will then take a brief pause so the students can eat cake, and then we will resume and do public comment at that time. And everyone who has signed up for public comment will be allowed their 2 minutes. So with that, Dr. Carmona, did you want to speak about our valedictorian and salutatorian?
Absolutely. So let me start by saying that I really want to recognize 2 extraordinary members of the class of 2025. So congratulations to our valedictorian, Jackson Love, and our, so that's one. Thank you. And our salutatorian, Alice Hunter. Alice, thank you. Thank you, everyone. So your hard work, leadership, and dedication have distinguished you among your peers. So Chair Kripchen has some remarks that she's going to read for you right now.
All right. It is an absolute pleasure to announce Jackson Love as the valedictorian of the class of 2025. He is one of the most hardworking, humble, and kind-hearted students in my caseload. This is coming from the principal of the high school. In my caseload, who has made the most of his high school experience. Jackson challenged himself academically by enrolling in a predominantly honors course curriculum with 13 advanced placement courses. He has scored a 5 in 6 of his advanced placement courses and has earned a spot in our high honor roll. His 4.97 weighted GPA is a testament of his work ethic, growth mindset, and passion for learning. Jackson is a student athlete who is a positive role model in our school community. His involvement in soccer and indoor-outdoor track and field teams as an athlete and captain has allowed him to build meaningful relationships with his coaches and peers. He is a student who will take a minute to check individually with teammates, learning about their personal experiences and hardships despite language barriers. He is proud to be a 5-time Greater Boston League All-Star. He is also a mentor and faith-driven leader to a cohort of 15 6th to 8th graders at his family's local church, leading small group activities and facilitating discussions. He is conscious about creating safe spaces for others so that they can grow and build community. Jackson is a trilingual student with fluency in French and Spanish. He has taken all of our course offerings in Spanish and has practiced this language with peers on the soccer field. He is also a self-taught musician who plays guitar, bass, trombone, and piano. Jackson has made a long-lasting impression on me because of his humility and meaningful connections with our students. He is always striving for excellence, but doesn't lose sight of who he is as an individual. He is committed to attend Yale University to study political science. It has been a privilege to have him on my caseload, and I know he will continue to make a positive impact in his next educational chapter. All right, I will now read for Alice Hunter, our salutatorian. Alice, if you want to come up. And I apologize, I've been informed these are written by your counselors. That's who I am reading these on behalf of. As a student, Alice excels in challenging subjects. In courses such as AP Literature and BC Calculus, Alice has proven their ability to tackle complex material with a sharp intellect and a willingness to grow. Alice's enthusiasm for math is coupled with a love for art and architecture, which was especially evident in their architectural drawing course. These courses not only pushed Alice to develop advanced skills, but also instilled in them a sense of pride in their academic achievements. Beyond the classroom, Alice has been a valuable member of our school community, contributing to a wide array of activities. As a performer, technical crew leader, and director with the Highlander Theater Company, Alice has taken on pivotal roles that showcase both their creative and organizational strengths. Serving as membership officer for the International Thespian Society and as the lead stage manager for all city middle school musical productions, Alice displayed exceptional leadership, managing 100 middle school students and coordinating multiple technical departments. The success of these productions is a testament to their ability to lead large teams, handle high-pressure situations, and ensure that every individual feels valued and supported. Alice is a rare combination of talent, perseverance, and generosity. I'm confident that Alice will continue to make a meaningful impact wherever they go, and I wholeheartedly recommend them for any opportunity they pursue. Congratulations again, and now we are going to introduce our robotics team. Did you want to?
Sure. So congratulations to our Balancel. We cannot wait to see, what great things you accomplish in life, and so really congratulations to you. Quite a feat. And so now let's turn our attention to a group of students who have demonstrated innovation, teamwork, and resilience, our robotics team. It's my honor to present the first ever SPS Impact Award to the members of the class of 2025 and 2026 who have led the SHS robotics team through our most successful competition season yet. So congratulations to you, robotics team. So we've created this Impact Award, and we will present this to, please. I'll read, and as you all, as the chair and the superintendent present.
So this is to the whole team, and these are to individual.
That's right.
Members.
And then after we present these to the individual members, then we will ask them to come up and do a demonstration. So without further ado, I'll ask the coaches to come up first, please, to help guide our students. I'll just read each name.
I do have some words from the school committee before we read the names.
Please.
Okay, tonight we proudly recognize the extraordinary accomplishments of the Somerville High School First Robotics Team, a group of students who exemplify innovation, leadership, and service in STEM education. Throughout the season, this team has demonstrated remarkable technical skill, creativity, and perseverance. But what truly sets them apart is not only their success in robotics competitions, but their unwavering commitment to expanding access to STEM learning for young people across the city. Their impact is deeply felt through the Somerville Robotics League and First LEGO League, where high school team members mentor and inspire elementary and middle school students as they begin their own journeys in engineering and coding. Through Girls Who Code, they have created welcoming, empowering spaces for young women to explore computer science. With the SPELL summer program, they've brought engaging STEM experiences to multilingual learners, fostering curiosity and confidence in students who are often underrepresented in these fields. The team's presence is woven throughout our community, whether leading hands-on activities at local events, partnering with educators and families, or volunteering their time to share their knowledge and passion for robotics and innovation. At every turn, they exemplify the mission of FIRST, to build not just robots, but stronger communities through collaboration, creativity, and a spirit of inclusion. On behalf of the Somerville School Committee, we extend our heartfelt congratulations to the students, mentors, and supporters of the Somerville High School robotics team. You are not only advancing the future of technology, you are shaping the future of our city. Your work continues to inspire and uplift Somerville, and we are proud to stand behind you as champions of learning, equity, and innovation.
And with that, I'm going to read each name of the students that are a part of the robotics team in the class of 2025 and the class of 2026 that are present here. And so they'll just be individually recognized, and then we can do a big celebration. So Lloyd Graves, Allison Holzer, Anirin Hulla, Bavroop Kaur, Garen Hulla, Haley Mikado, Jack Granuetter, Jacob Soltesiak, Lex Moulton, Miles Eisenbraun, Raphael Ronan, Sage Milbury, Sam Ryan, Silas Wickenden. I'm looking at the coaches. Did I get all the team members that are to be recognized? Excellent. Thank you so much for all you've done and all your innovation. Oh yes, let's give a round of applause. Congratulations are also in order for our coaches. So I just want to give a huge shout out to Jason Behrens and all the work he does for the robotics team. And I want to give a special shout out to Coach Laura Peters for I'm going to give a shout out to Coach Laura Peters for a successful season, and also Coach Laura Peters earned her doctorate this weekend. So congratulations, thank you for all you do. We are really excited to see a demonstration.
Hello, great. And we had sent over a slideshow. I don't know if that's a thing we can get up. Got it. Yep, perfect. All right. Okay, thanks everybody. Welcome. So as Dr. Boston Davis just said, I'm Laura Peters. I am very honored to be the coach of this amazing group of humans from Somerville High School, and really excited to share what we do. I really don't like public speaking, so this is all you're gonna hear from me, and I'm about to pass it off to some wonderful students. I have Allison right here, who is going to be the captain next year. And then we will also hear from Roop, who is our current and outgoing captain. Next slide, please. Okay, who are we?
Hi. For those of you who might not know us, we are the Somerville Robotics team. We are a first robotics competition team, which means every year we compete in a game that we have to design a robot for, starting in January until our competitions, which are usually early March. So it's a lot of work, and it's also a lot of fun. We design these robots from scratch every year to fit the game. This year, the game was called Reefscapes, and our robot was named Plunk, which we have here today.
Next slide. So along with building our robot, we do a lot of outreach. So we reach out to a lot of students and a lot of families. This year we spent around, it says 80, but I think it's like 86, close to 90 hours per each student that we have on the team. And we make sure that every student that's on our team does outreach, because we know it's such an important part of extending our community with STEM and everything. With this outreach, we made the Somerville Robotics League in 2023, which was 2 years ago, and this is our second year running it. We've run it in the fall from October-ish to December-ish, and there is a competition much like we have in our robotics team, but we do it for middle schoolers. And we hosted that in our SHS cafeteria. And alongside with that, we have the FLO program that we talked about, which is much like FIRST also. It's for younger students, and they get to use LEGO Spike Primes to do a challenge that we also get. They got challenge, I don't know the name of for this year, but yeah. And we do a lot of other programs. We reach out to other events. We go to we go to Fluff Fest. We make our own events. We make Family Coding Night, and we would love to reach out to more people. So let us know if you're interested in any events that we can do with you. And yeah.
Are we ready? Great. So we're going to spend a couple minutes showing you what Plunk can do. We're only going to do a little bit of what Plunk can do because our normal field is about 10 times the size of, maybe more, 20 times the size of what we've got right here. And also Plunk broke in my car being transported here, and we have just fixed Plunk, so give Plunk a little grace if anything happens. And then after a couple minutes of demo, we'll take questions from our school committee and our audience members. Go for it. All right, drive team, let's do one more, and then Jack's gonna do a little demonstration of climbing. Cool. So that was our demonstration. Perhaps one, so we also are able to do some other things with the robot that we don't really have the space to show you here, but we brought one of the elements. Do you want to explain it and someone else can hold it, or do you want to, yeah? Yeah? Perfect. Jack, come and talk to us. This is Jack, he's another senior on the team. And also the captain for 2 years. Explain climbing.
So normally there's a cage that Miles is gonna hold up here. That's usually hanging free on this chain from what's called the barge, and we have to get off the ground holding only the cage. We can't even touch the chain. So we can't hold up the chain here, but we can show you how it goes into the robot. So normally the robot would drive up and then it gets latched in, and then I could pull the cage down into the robot, and then it gets latched in, and we are currently off the ground usually. Yes, you can see over there.
So we were gonna bring the whole team out and answer any questions that the committee or members of the audience have. Can I have the seniors first, because they're all wearing their college shirts where they're going next year? And then all the rest of my team, would it make sense for us to like gather in the little fishbowl and then you can ask questions? Sure, great. The rest of the team, come on out. Come on, Reed.
All right, I believe Mr. Bitone had a question.
Wow, this is incredible. I guess I would love to hear from someone what the biggest challenge in putting this, because there's so many elements that came together for you to make this, and I understand there were different teams within this overall team. Can someone speak to what you thought was the biggest challenge in this particular, developing this particular robot was?
And if whoever's going to answer can just go to the microphone, because otherwise the people at home watching
We
won't
also
be able
have
to hear.
one on each side if that's closer to you.
Oh, good idea. Yeah, it can be any of the microphones, so, but there's fine.
Sure. So I think the biggest challenge for the team, and it has been for multiple years, is time management and making sure that we are designing a robot that is simple enough that we can realistically build it, and then sticking to that plan. So not trying to do everything because we know we won't have the time. And I think this year we were really good about making sure we stuck with the decisions that we made at the beginning of the season. And that helped us to create a robot that went all the way up to the district championship.
Are there other specific, yes, Ms. Barish?
Thank you. Through you, I know the robotics team isn't new. I wondered if maybe one of the seniors who's been with the team for a few years could talk a little bit about sort of the growth of the team over your time at the high school, and sort of maybe if you can think of anything that has contributed to the team's success and growth, that'd be great.
Who wants to take it? Sam, looks like you're being voluntold.
I actually wasn't here my freshman year, so maybe I'm part of that growth, less so than at the beginning of it. But when we came at the beginning of the now seniors, their freshman year, it was just off the end of the pandemic, and the robotics team had sort of hit a break in team consistency because nobody had been doing it. And so when we started that year, it was in some ways like from scratch. There were almost no older students on the team, although we have a few graduates now. And we went from there to building what we have today, which is more than we had last couple years. And we were having some struggles with that during the last 4 years. We were having issues recruiting and retaining younger students. And we took a really aggressive approach to that this year because so many of us were graduating. And to be specific, we changed what we do with students at the beginning of the year because this program gets really intense in the wintertime when it's competition season. But it's hard to tell kids, just wait until the wintertime. They want to pick up a sport, they want to get busy. So we had all the incoming students build essentially a whole other robot. It's called a Kitbot, what we had them build, so it's like a slightly simpler version of the competition robot with like some instructions and materials along the way for an off-season event. So we just had the kids come in right from September, build the robot, and people got to learn that they're like doing it, and they stuck around. Yeah.
Dr. Ackman and then Ms. Baton.
Hi, other side. So thank you for being here, especially, when you are so close to graduation. Showing up is like, woo, props. And thank you for this amazing work. I'm sort of curious, what happens to Plunk come June, whatever, and then what does it look like for the decision for next year? Because you build a new one from scratch, right? So like, that's a lot of work. Like, what happens, like, what does your cycle sort of look like?
Raf's being voluntold.
So I think the best way to possibly describe this is 2 words, which are spare parts. Because the electronics are relatively expensive, those get reused every year. We don't really have a use for all of like the smaller metal bits that we can't cut or reuse. So those generally stay. We have robots from 4 or 5 years ago that are in like bits and pieces in storage, but generally all of the parts that we can reuse, we do. True, right. We do use our robots from the competition season before in off-season events such as Nerd and Mass Champs and outreach events for demos.
Ms. Baton?
Thank you. Again, thank you all for being here. I don't know, this has been an incredibly joyous start to our meeting to see what your robot can do, and it just brought a huge smile to my face and a lot of excitement. What would you say to a younger student that you would say to them to encourage them to get involved in robotics? Particularly, like seeing what this robot can do might be intimidating to some students. So how would you communicate to them that this is a really great thing to get involved with?
Garrett.
So the advice that I would give to a new student who is wanting to get involved and join the team is to just commit and to start, go to some events, try it out, and then what we find often is that once students have done that first year, they've been to a competition with teams from around New England, they've seen the environment and how they're part of something bigger, that then they really tend to get bitten by it and they stick with it. So that was my advice, is to just start and commit and find a way to stick with it, and then it'll really grab a hold of you.
Mr. Green.
Again, thank you. We often say thank you, or it doesn't count apparently. But my question is, because we wouldn't be school committee, we wouldn't be doing jobs if I didn't ask this question. How can we, as individuals, as a committee, as a district, better support the growth and the advancement of the RISE team going forward, and of its members, obviously?
They're all staring at me. Our team has really benefited from a lot of support from Dr. Carmona and Dr. Boston Davis. We absolutely could use your support when requests for funding come through, for sure. this team specifically was about 18 total students, maybe 12 on a given day. When I started here in 2022, we're about twice that size now, and so a lot of the sort of costs and the parts, and as they were talking about, like this kitbot situation, all of that comes with, you know, a financial piece. But again, what we do is trying to inspire the younger students to join STEM, trying to broaden participation in STEM, trying to diversify STEM. So anything you can do, as simple as, like, if you're a person who has not, you know, maybe historically loved math, not putting that idea in a child's head, like, oh, I don't do math. Because when kids hear adults say, like, I'm not a math person or I'm not a computer person, they get this idea that there are certain people who can and certain people who can't. And so in particular, if you can help us just spread that ethos of, like, STEM and robotics is for every single student in our district, I think that would be the most important way that you can support us.
Okay, if there are no other specific questions, we will now take a brief recess for some cake for our students. So we will resume shortly. Erica, do you want me to go around? And our next order of business will be public comment. So I will read our public comment instructions, and then I will read my list 3 at a time, so you'll know when it's your turn coming up. Welcome and thank you to those who have signed up for public comment. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes to present their material. However, the chair may limit comments to 2 minutes based on the number of individuals signed up to speak. You will each have 2 minutes this evening. Speakers should begin their comments by stating their name and address, or, in the case of district employees, their role within the district. The chair of the meeting, after a warning, reserves the right to terminate speech which is not constitutionally protected because it constitutes true threats that are likely to provoke a violent reaction and cause a breach of the peace, or incitement to imminent lawless conduct, or which contains obscenities. Public comment is not a discussion, debate, or dialogue between the public and the committee. Members of the committee will not reply to public comment in the course of the meeting, though individual members may follow up and items from public comment may be taken up in future meetings. The school committee will not hear personal complaints of school personnel, nor against any member of the school community in public session. Individuals may address topics on the agenda or items within the school committee's scope of responsibility, such as the district budget, goals and policies, or role of the superintendent. The public is encouraged to submit comments in writing for inclusion in the public record. So with that, I will start with Julia Dolan, and then Charles Jabbour, and then Angelique Sotomoro. Julia, the floor is yours.
Hi, my name is Julia Dolan. I'm a resident of Ward 4 and a teacher here in Somerville. I wanted to rise today to speak for 2 concerns. The first is that the mayor is not here. I know it is a problem for everyone in this room that the ultimate decision maker of this city is not here to hear comments or deliberate on her own budget. I hope you agree with the licensed educators and parents that are here that our schools need more than level funding. I hope that each of you is using your personal and political relationship with the mayor to encourage her to face the reality of the situation that she is creating a political problem that you, the school committee, are being forced to handle. I hope you pass an appropriate budget and put that pressure back on her, especially as she is asserting widely on social media her pro-union successes. The other concern is my fear of false austerity. For a progressive city, it's strange to me that we are letting fear continue inequality and the underserving of students. Underfunding education by $5 million when we have grown our free cash fund to double what we need to maintain a AAA bond rating, and which has grown every year for the last 9 years, except for 2020, is not a progressive choice. It's hoarding. If we as a city believe that all students should be given the opportunities and services they need to succeed, then we need to put our money where our values are. We need to fund our schools. We can do it and still have plenty of money to fall back on, and the mayor needs to stop wasting all of our time and energy so we can go back and teach our students and stop talking about this budget.
I have Charles Jabbour, followed by Angelique Sotomoro, and then Naina Fox. Charles, the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you. My name is Charles Jabbour, and I teach theater in the district. I'm a nationally recognized award-winning theater educator, and for the past 10 years, thank you. And for the past 10 years, I've directed and produced over 40 productions across the district. But many know me as the guy that makes sure your mics are working in the auditorium. So I'm used to it. When you're an arts educator, you grow accustomed to having your most important work regarded as something unessential. This is despite decades of research to the contrary. And in situations like we're in right now, it's easy to accept that simply having your program keeping it from off the chopping block is enough to be grateful for. But the problem is that the arts have been underfunded in this district for at least the 10 years that I have been here. So continuing with the same approach is no more than a commitment to continue underfunding our arts programs, especially our theater program. And I'm here to tell you, I'm done being quiet about it. Because theater education is essential, and it's about time that the budget started reflecting that. Because when we support theater education, we're supporting social emotional learning. When we support theater education, we're supporting culturally responsive teaching. We're supporting STEM. We're supporting project-based learning. We're supporting cross-disciplinary studies in English, math, science, and history. So you tell me, what do you need me to call it in order for us to start funding it? Because as it stands now, in this district, 90% of students in grades pre-K through 8 are without access to an in-school theater curriculum. As it stands now, our after-school theater program can't afford to fully staff our productions, but is still expected to pay the city of Somerville to access the building on nights and weekends. The SEU has offered proposals to address these issues and more, and each of these proposals have been rejected or deferred for lack of funding, which we know the city can afford. So I'm here tonight to ask you, if not now, when will we start funding theater in our district?
Next, I have Angelique Santamoro, then Naina Fox, and then Andy Martinez. Angelique, the floor is yours.
A little tall. My name is Angelique Santamaro. I was born and raised in Somerville. I'm a graduate of Somerville Public Schools. I have two children. I feel like I do this every time. I have two children at the Argenziano. I'm a licensed clinician and adjustment counselor at the high school, and I've been doing more with less for 10 years. The district attorney had stated last week when we concluded our bargaining session that it was clear the only thing the SEU wanted was money for raises. She failed the midterm. 7 years ago, while working at the Kennedy School, we had a lockdown. It was believed that there was a student with a gun in the school. Oh, I was crying when I tell this story. At the time, I had 2 students in my office. In under a minute, I had to do the math to figure out where I could position them and my body to protect them both in case somebody came in the room with a gun. To be clear, I was willing to take literal bullets for the city's children, for the children of the city, for your children. I was going to take bullets while mine sat in a different school. We are only asking that you do your job. We are asking that you do your job with more, with us. We're not asking you to do more with less. When the mayor tells us to do more with less, it is insulting. When our bosses, including this committee, don't fight with us for what we need, it's inexcusable. And frankly, it's unforgivable.
Next, I have Naina Fox, then Andy Martinez, and then Ray Woodcock. Naina, the floor is yours.
Good evening. My name is Nana Sood Fox, and I teach 5th grade math and science at East Somerville. I'm speaking tonight in favor of a 10% increase in the school budget. East is the largest pre-K through 8 school in the district and is located in a low-income neighborhood. To put it bluntly, my students are some of the highest need students in Somerville Public Schools in the most highly populated classes. My 2 classes this year have 24 and 22 students. In one of those classes, I have 6 students on IEPs. I have 11 multilingual learners. 14 of my students began their 5th grade year testing at a 3rd grade reading level or lower. 3 of those students got reading services this year. We do not have enough staff to service our students. Our math scores were better, but nothing to brag about. I'm hopeful that will change at the end of the year. One of my students, anecdotally, needs his fingers to add 2 plus 3. To remind you, I teach 5th grade. I am one educator, and this caseload is untenable. When students transfer from other districts, their IEPs are written far more robustly and with much more comprehensive services than any of those of my students at East. Our IEPs are written not with students' needs at the forefront, but rather with how our service providers can stretch their schedules to accommodate them. The amount of resource room educators and math and reading interventionists simply does not match the need of our schools. And because the district takes advantage of the fact that many of our families on the east side of the city do not speak English as a first language, do not know how to navigate the system and advocate for their children, those students, my students, they fall through the cracks. This is unethical, and frankly, it is shameful. In order to give our most vulnerable students the supports they need, we need smaller caseloads and a true co-teaching model. If the school committee approves a level service budget, the inequities among our school populations will widen, and our schools will become even more segregated than they are today. Somerville educators are here today, and we are in our classrooms every day fighting for our students because they are worth it. And we are asking you to join us, support our students, fight for them, and invest in their future. They deserve it. Thank you.
Next, I have Andy Martinez, followed by Ray Woodcock, and then Gwyneth Davies. Andy, the floor is yours.
Good evening. My name is Andy Martinez. I am a Somerville resident in Ward 4. I'm an aspiring educator, and I am a proud organizer with the Party for Socialism and Liberation. I am here tonight in support of prioritizing Somerville Public Schools in the budget. This means a 10% increase to fully fund the schools our students deserve. The educators of SEU know what is best for the students in Somerville. They work with them every day. When they ask for smaller class sizes, it's because they see every day the needs of students go unmet because of lack of funding and staffing. When they ask for more multilingual education programs, it is because they see that students need these resources. When they ask for more special education staffing and expanding social emotional support, again, it is because they literally see and experience that students are not getting the support that they need. I am sure it is heartbreaking. It is a heartbreaking experience seeing the needs of students go unmet every single day. I know this is why these educators are fighting so hard to get this 10% budget increase. It is shameful to see elected officials refusing to meet the needs of students. It is extremely disappointing to see that the mayor asks educators to do more with less, especially considering the fact that Somerville has the money. As we expect more attacks from the Trump administration and the billionaire class, I can see nothing more important than prioritizing public education when it comes to the city's budget. These educators serve the most vulnerable members of our communities every single day. The working conditions of these wonderful and dedicated educators are the learning conditions of our students. So give them the funding they need to do their jobs.
Next, I have Ray Woodcock, followed by Gwyneth Davies, and then Eleanor McLean. Ray, the floor is yours.
Hi, my name is Ray Woodcock, and I'm a 4th grade teacher at East Somerville Community School. I'm here to advocate that Somerville Public Schools be prioritized in the budget. Fully funding our schools means a 10% increase. It's what our schools need and what our staff and students deserve. Firstly, I want to emphasize that our students can't wait years on end to begin piloting and implementing an inclusion program. When sub-separate classrooms for moderate learning needs were phased out several years ago, the district did not provide us with any sort of transition plan to support greater needs in our general education classrooms. Meeting our special education students' needs for any part of the day with resource room teachers is not an inclusion model and isn't sufficient to meet the volume of significant needs we now see. As I am teaching my class by myself for nearly the entire day, I am not able to attend to everyone's needs. It's physically impossible. This year, my classroom has 21 students with 8 MLs and 5 academic IEPs, 4 of whom are complete non-readers and non-writers. My non-readers and writers are completely dependent on adult support to work on grade level curriculum, even with heavy modifications, which means they either need to work one-on-one with me or are at a complete loss. Out of 21 students, only 2 students tested on grade level at the start of the year in reading, and 10 students were 2 or more years behind. Similarly, in math, 2 students tested on grade level, with 13 students 2 or more grade levels behind. Without an inclusion program, my time is constantly split, and someone's needs are always left unmet, which harms all of our students as their needs are compounding each year, not just our special education students. I know my kids, and they are far more capable than that data shows. We can't afford to wait on implementing. It is a dire need that we are experiencing now, and the learning gaps we're seeing becoming harder and harder to close as they widen across a larger number of students. Thank you.
Next, I have Gwyneth Davies, followed by Eleanor McLean, and then Jillian Caballos.
Okay, I'm not enjoying this, but I'm going to do it. And I want to say also that the silence after taking attendance and the mayor is not here was deafening. I'm Gwyneth Davies. I teach 2nd grade at the Winter Hill. My goal in speaking tonight is to convey to you that we cannot accept less than a 10% budget increase, and that you must demand that the mayor fund a 10% budget increase. We need it, we really do. I thought, what can I say to make it clear? I could give a snapshot of my day, the chaos of helping 18 8-year-olds write 2 well-structured informational paragraphs about a world landmark, while at the same time building at least 6 dioramas. The moment of sheer relief when another teacher stepped into the room to help, the daily potential for joy and learning that can quickly devolve into overwhelm when we aren't adequately staffed. On the other hand, I could share about the constant interruptions to special ed services that happen almost daily in my classroom. Of course, by no means the fault of the service providers. We're just stretched too thin, too many demands. The resulting tears and meltdowns that have pulled me away from my teaching and have pulled students away from their learning today and nearly every day. I could mention building issues, test scores, any inequities baked into every facet of our schools, the way we repeatedly fail our most vulnerable over and over. Or I could tell you about tomorrow, that after a full day of PD, I'm spending the first part of my evening learning about protecting our immigrant students, and then the second part of our evening having a heart ultrasound, because this job that I love so much is breaking my body, and it's breaking my bank account, and it's literally breaking my heart. So we're showing up every day, being brave, asking you guys to step in and help us out. Please be brave. Please ask for the things. Voice what we need. Make it happen. It's on you. I'm still here. I'll be here because our kids are worth it. They're not mine, but they are. You know what I mean? So please, please, thank you.
Next, I have Eleanor McLean, followed by Jillian Caballos, and then Kyle Serena. Eleanor, the floor is yours.
Good evening. My name is Eleanor McLean, and I'm an educator at Winter Hill. I'm here to ask for a 10% budget increase to fully fund our schools. Our proposals about supporting students are crucial. In my third grade class, 50% of my students are MLs and 15% are on IEPs. I also started the year with 25% of my third grade class unable to read or unable to read in English. I want to be extremely clear that this is not through any fault of any teacher who taught these students before. We are all desperate for support. Like Ray, every day I have to make difficult choices between supporting those four and the rest of my class, many of whom also have significant needs. As others have said, I am only one person. Next year, the reading specialist who would work with these students splits time between 3 schools. Will my students get the time they need to learn to read and independently complete their work? The services students are missing is deeply impacting them emotionally as well. One of my students recently qualified for math services. He will not get them this year because there is no one to provide the minutes. The student came up to me the other day and said, "Ms. McLean, am I failing math?" He's only in 3rd grade and he is asking this question. I did my best to reassure him. I told him to think of all the work he's done this year and the things he couldn't do at first and now feels comfortable with. But this 9-year-old believes he is failing math because something is wrong with him or his effort. In reality, he's not getting the services he needs to progress. How do I explain that to him? The message seems to be grateful things are staying the same. Be grateful we're not making any cuts. I can't tell my students to be grateful with what we have when it's already not enough. Thank you.
I have Jillian Caballos, followed by Kyle Serena, and then Kayla Burgess.
Good evening. My name is Jill Ceballos. I'm a 4th grade teacher at East Somerville Community School, where I have spent my entire 11-year career. I have been the East Equity Specialist for 4 years. I have my ESL license, a Master of Arts in Teaching, and am a current candidate for a Master of Public Health. I'm a mixed-race Puerto Rican American, a daughter to an immigrant father who was a leader in the public health field, and to a mother who was a special education teacher and advocate. I'm also the younger sister to a woman with Down syndrome who led a rich life thanks to her ambition and the government-funded services that were available to her. All this to say, I was raised in the world of community care, public services, and systems thinking. So you can imagine how confusing it is to be a teacher in a school system that continuously talks about their commitment to equity, but chooses to underfund schools. Student success is multifactorial and tethered to the inequities in our schools and city. There is extensive research that indicates learning is shaped by determinants such as social context, economic stability, neighborhood and built environment, educational access, and healthcare access. We are in a city where the 2 lowest income neighborhoods have the largest populations of people of color, are exposed to the highest levels of pollution, and are home to the lowest performing schools with over 70% of the students designated designated as high needs. And on the other side of the city, the wealthiest and widest neighborhoods are home to the highest performing schools where just about 20 to 30% of students are high needs. With no effective systemic interventions to address these disparities, you need to know how teaching and learning in these schools differs drastically. I'm asking you to invest in a 10% budget increase, invest in equitable class sizes and caseloads, weighted resource allocation, real inclusion, and transportation for students to attend non-proximity schools. We need these now. When you choose to underfund our school even further because they already are underfunded, you choose to perpetuate the learning gap and create environments for inequalities to compound and grow. You keep saying you're committed to our schools, but commitment is not a hope or conditional promise, it's an action. Commitment to our schools is fully funding a 10% increase. You have the power to act on your commitment. Somerville educators, students, and families have high expectations for you, and this is the moment to meet them.
Next, I have Kyle Serena, followed by Kayla Burgess, and then Alex Sheeman. Kyle, the floor is yours.
Good evening. My name is Kyle Serena, and I'm a community member living in Davis Square. I'm speaking tonight as the son of a first grade teacher. I've seen firsthand in my life the stress that large class sizes and underfunding can cause. The nights that my mom is so stressed with extremely large workloads that they've had to take home unpaid. Just the amount of work that is done by teachers and paraprofessionals to have an underfunded school, you're leaving students behind and you're stressing teachers out to the max. I feel like with the rising costs of Somerville, $50,000 is a very reasonable amount, and the city has the money. I think investing in educators is investing in the future, and if we want a beautiful and bright future for Somerville, we have to invest in our educators and therefore our students. Thank you.
Next, I have Kayla Burgess, followed by Alex Sheeman, followed by Kelsey Lonagdaleen. Hopefully you'll correct your name for me when you come up. Kayla, the floor is yours.
Hi, my name is Kayla Burgess. I'm a 6th grade math and science teacher at West Somerville Neighborhood School. This is my first full year of classroom teaching, and while I still have much to learn, there is much that I already understand about the inequities in our school system. To paint a picture, I teach 2 classes of students. In one of those classes, there are 25 children, 7 on IEPs. 1 is also designated as a multilingual student, 1 on a 504, and 2 more designated multilingual students. That's 40% of the class, pardon my math, but I am a math teacher. Who have designated support services. Of the rest of the students, I have 8 or so more who require frequent Tier 2 interventions. That's one-on-one support, that's small group support. Who require those to succeed academically. So totaling that all up, that's 18 out of 25 students. That's 72% of the class that needs more help than one person could ever provide on a regular basis. When we heard Mayor Ballantyne suggest to us, the educators of our city's children, to do more with less, we were all infuriated on this side of the room. We cannot do more when we cannot already do what we can, when we cannot do what we have right now. We cannot. It's not possible. We're past our capacities already. We cannot do more. And then to see the mayor proudly posting on social media, as Julia mentioned, her support of other city unions, when this union that cares for and teaches the literal future of this city, is asking for just a fraction of this city's free cash. It is insulting and disgusting, the disregard for the needs of this city's children, the future. And let's be clear, this is a need, a necessity. Schools are an essential resource of our city, obviously, we know that. If another essential resource of the city, such as the fire department, was asking for necessities that they needed to fulfill their role in our city, if they didn't have what they need, we would give it to them, because it is what they need, it's essential. We have told you that there are fires in our schools. The Winter Hill building is unsafe for students and educators. That's a fire. Every day, the educators have to make the choice of which students we can provide support for and which students we will neglect, because it is physically, logistically impossible to meet the needs of all of the students in our classrooms. 72% of my class, again, So that's another fire. We need this. This is a necessity. So I ask you all, members of the school committee, how would you decide who to neglect if you were given this choice to neglect some of your students every day? And actions speak louder than words. The way that you are withholding available funding from our schools, you are saying that educating all Somerville students, that educating them all, not allowing them to reach their full potential, is not a priority for Somerville and not something that Somerville offers to its tax-paying and voting residents in reality. You are saying that Somerville says it is okay for the students who need us most to be left behind. To Dr. Carmona and the school committee, you have told us, the people who care for our children and teach our city's children every day, that you are on our team. You have said that to us in the bargaining room, and that you share our goals and our vision for what our students can achieve and what our schools can and should be. Now is the time to use your power to get those words into action. It is time to tuck into your back pocket the niceties and the politeness and the thank you so much that we have been hearing on so many of these meetings, and use your power and your voice to advocate to the mayor of this city that we can use the funding that is available in free cash. It's so disheartening to hear in the bargaining room that there's nothing you can do. You have a voice. You have been put into this position of power to vouch for us, to vouch for our students, and we encourage you to use it. We demand that you take your role responsibly and use it to the fullest extent possible to demand that we do what we need for our students in our city by fully funding safe and equitable schools. We are out here doing the work every day, as multiple of us have already mentioned. We are doing it, and we ask you to do the same. Thank you.
Next, I have Alex Sheeman, followed by Kelsey Lamdalan, and then Cara Dodd. Alex, the floor is yours.
My name is Alex Sheeman, and I'm an adjustment counselor at the Winter Hill. I'm speaking tonight not for me, even though I'm exhausted, but for my students. They are the ones suffering directly as a result of the lack of funding and ineffective staffing model we currently have in place. As a special education service provider for both the general education and a substantially separate program within the Winter Hill, I am legally obligated to see my students for their counseling services. However, due to obligations completely out of my control, such as IEP meetings, MCAS proctoring, and student crises, as of May 15th, I have missed 219 services, which equates to 6,570 minutes of missed counseling time this year alone. There are students on my caseload who have missed almost 1/3 of their services for the school year. There are students I haven't seen since before April vacation. This is not only unacceptable, but against the law. I listened at school today as a 3rd and 4th grader were arguing in the hallway about who had missed more time with Miss Alex this year. I have had I kid you not, they couldn't have said it more perfectly today. I have had students ask me in recent weeks if I'm still their counselor. How do you propose I answer those questions? Because at this point, I'm exhausted and all I can muster is, I'm sorry. Our kids deserve better. Without a realistic and equitable workload model for staff, not only will these types of comments persist, but the social and emotional well-being of our students will continue to suffer. Thank you.
I have Kelsey Lamdalan, followed by Cara Dodd, and then Anna Feingold. Kelsey, the floor is yours.
My name is Kelsey Lamagdalene, and I have been a special educator in Somerville for 10 years. I will build on previous remarks about missed IEP services. How many students missed services and how many hours have been missed are excellent questions. I'm asking how many hours of services are fulfilled only because of teachers sacrificing their time. Resource room teachers get 80 minutes of discretionary time a week and a daily 40-minute prep period. In reality, our discretionary time might add up to 80 minutes, but it's 10 minutes here and 15 minutes there. Same with preps. It creates a disjointed schedule that does not support deep focus work such as report and IEP writing, data analysis, and lesson planning. The only way I get sufficient work time is by coming in an hour early every day, doing work after my toddler goes to bed, or canceling services. In other words, work for free or make my students pay the price. My maternity leave left a gap in IEP services that lasted a quarter of last school year. In the weeks leading up to my leave, I worked multiple 10-hour days, seeing my students as often as possible and preparing sub-materials in my own time because I knew no one was coming to replace me. I left 20 pages of notes. I had pregnancy carpal tunnel, plus a social story for my young elementary students who were confused and scared that their teacher was leaving with no substitute. They missed 8 weeks of services. The district is still making up the hours. Educators are commended for our flexibility and dedication for our students, but are met with little beyond acknowledgement of our difficulties or inequitable solutions like placing all students with inclusion services in one classroom. Our unpaid labor patches over many systemic gaps, but the gaps keep growing. We know that we need more staff for a true inclusion model, yet the mayor refuses to budget for it. We need a 10% increase because educators have been giving beyond 100% for years. Thank you.
Next, I have Kara Dodd, followed by Anna Feingold, and then Abby Hare. Kara, the floor is yours.
Hi again, everybody. Good to see you here. I'm Kara Dodd. I'm a special education teacher and Ward 5 resident. I shared this in an email with all of you on May 8th, but I think it bears repeating here in this space. On May 8th, I didn't teach a single student on my caseload, but I worked so hard that day. I didn't get a prep period. My day went something like this. 8:10 to 8:40 provided accommodations for iReady testing with a first grade student. 8:40 to 11:15 I MCAS tested with a group of fourth graders in a small group. 11:15 to 11:40 I ate my lunch and wrote a report. 11:40 to 1 o'clock I provided a special education WIAT evaluation on a third grader. 1 o'clock to 2:08 I attended an MTSS meeting to talk about first grade reading progress. Spoiler alert, my first graders not making a ton of progress, they're not getting a ton of service. 2:10 to 2:30, I collected baseline data for a new kindergarten student that was added to my caseload, and then I closed out the day by finishing up an IEP. None of this is hyperbole. I did not spend a minute of that day teaching, and the special education students on my caseload did not spend a minute working toward their goals. May 8th was not an outlier. The past 4 or 5 weeks have gone pretty similarly due to MCAS and the onslaught of academic evaluations that need to be completed before the end of the year, and IEP meetings that need to be held before June 17th. I simply can't be in all of the places I need to be to meet the needs of my students. My students' needs expand beyond the minutes on their IEPs. Students need accommodations for testing. They need support for classroom projects. My students need consistency and flexibility. A true co-teaching model could give them that. Accepting the proposed 5.25% increase will not lead to student gains. In fact, we keep hearing that the 5.25% increase allows us to remain compliant, but we are grossly out of compliance. Accepting this measly increase will mean students continue to lose out on precious time on learning and will continue to fall further behind. It will mean I continue to use my mental energy and educational expertise every day, figuring out what students I won't be seeing and trying to preview with them and their teachers so that they can have some level of predictability. It will mean I am spending less and less time planning lessons to teach my students and even less time actually teaching them. I went into this profession to teach kids. I can feel the joy and motivation leaving my body with every day that passes. I want to be able to support my kids to reach their full potential. I want to be able to support my colleagues to support their students. Yet I'm spending my days watching precious moments and time slip away from them. If we truly care about education and our children, we need to use our power to make bold moves and stand up for what our students deserve.
I have Anna Feingold, followed by Abby Hare, and then Jenna DeNovis. Anna, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Anna Feingold, 95 Franklin Street. I'm a resident and homeowner in Ward 1. My child's at Capuano and will be at the East next year. So I listened to the finance meeting last week, and I did appreciate what I heard. I appreciated the concern, the follow-up questions from the May 7 meeting, the care. What I'm here to ask you to do as a parent is to take that care and lead on this issue. Push for more. The city city has it. Push for 10%. To the district, I know you were told 5%. And as a side note, as a parent, I want to personally thank you for the many things I think you're doing really well for my kid and other kids. You have to push harder on the budget. To the school committee, any and all discretionary funds, discretionary free cash that's available should go to the schools now. If a patient is bleeding out, not to be hyperbolic, but if a patient is bleeding out, you don't look at your budget and see how many years of Band-Aids you can afford. You just stop the bleeding. You just do it. Any and all discretionary free cash now. The system needs everything that we can give it. We have heard so many stories now about how the district is out of compliance with legally required services. I really appreciate it. I think it was Member Barish last week made the point that making up missed hours is not equivalent to providing them when they're needed. And I think by the same token, piecemeal doling out limited additional support to teachers over the next couple years is not equivalent to giving them the bare minimum support that they say is needed and necessary now. Please lead on this issue. Any and all discretionary free cash, 10% budget, please lead on this issue.
Next, I have Abby Hare, followed by Jenna DeNovis, and then Samantha Steiner. Abby, the floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Abby Hare. I live at 13 Quincy Street, and I have a kid at Capuano and next year at East. I'm following up on the 500 emails that you received since the last meeting from concerned parents in our city. We all want you to go bigger. I understand that these are scary times, but the needs of students and teachers cannot wait. I appreciate that you don't want to allow things into the budget that you're not sure if the city can continue year after year after year. But stretching our dollars as thin as they can go has not and will not work for our teachers and students. SPS is out of compliance with special education services. We've just heard it. Teachers are burning out. We also just heard that. All students' needs cannot get met with the current level of staffing and resources. A 10% budget increase is what the teachers say they need. As the school committee, you should trust the professionals in the classroom that they know best, and you should encourage the SPS to write a big, bold budget, even if it doesn't fit into what the mayor says. Our kids only get one shot at their K-12 education. We cannot wait for things to settle down. We cannot do meager increases year over year. They need resources now. Please go big for our kids and fully fund our schools.
Next, I have Jenna DeNovis, followed by Samantha Steiner, and then Taylor Byrne. Jenna, the floor is yours.
Good evening, my name is Jenna DeNovis, and I'm a Ward 5 resident and an educator of 13 years at East. I'm speaking again tonight in support of prioritizing Somerville Public Schools in the budget. That means a 10% increase. Our students deserve fully funded schools and nothing less. 2 days ago, Mayor Ballantyne, who's glaringly not here, posted to social media about a recently settled historic contract for Somerville's municipal workers. In that post, also referenced by Julia and Kayla, the mayor boasted, "The contract we signed provided one of Somerville's largest unions with increased wages. We support our unions so they may better support Somerville." I'm here to remind the school committee that I and countless others in this room have elected each of you to hold the mayor to her word and to ensure that she delivers on her promises in the name of our children. Failure to support Somerville's educators ultimately harms our students. It should go without saying that our children do not ever deserve to be collateral. In the April 4th City e-newsletter, the mayor bragged about a new paid family medical leave benefit for city workers, quote, "part of a broader effort to advance worker equity and improve workplace conditions in Somerville. Alongside other recent efforts like wage equity studies and new union contracts, the program aims to attract and retain skilled employees while ensuring a healthy, stable workforce," end quote. What about the city's veteran educators who will see fewer take-home dollars amidst rising healthcare premiums next year? If school year 25-26 opens under a level service budget, many of our most experienced educators will imminently depart for nearby districts that pay better and follow through on upholding their values by putting their money where their mouth is. On March 31st, in a press release, the mayor stated, "We believe every child deserves the strongest possible start, which only happens when an entire community works together. Week of the Young Child is a joyful reminder of what we can accomplish when families, educators, and city and community partners come together to support our youngest residents." Well, here we are, families, educators, and community partners, waiting on the city, the only holdout in the way of fully funding our schools. The people of Somerville have made it abundantly clear that education should be our city's top priority, and that we know that Somerville has the money to fully fund our schools. In this moment, we need you, the school committee, to step up and be courageous. Please gather the courage to tell the mayor that a level service budget is not an option for our kids. Please find the courage to demand of the mayor that our city spend some of its $33 million in free cash to create a true special education inclusion model that supports all students. Less than 2 weeks ago, I found the courage to publicly share my mental health struggles alongside many of my colleagues who shared their troubling stories about what it's like to work in our underfunded schools. Now, I'm imploring all of you to dig deep and find that same kind of courage. We know you can do it. We know that together we can fully fund our schools.
Next, I have Samantha Steiner, followed by Taylor Byrne, and then Jess Perez Adams. Samantha, the floor is yours.
Hi, my name is Sam Steiner. I live in Ward 7. I have a child at Capuano. I'm asking the mayor and the school committee to ensure our schools are fully funded and that we meet our legal and ethical obligations to students with disabilities. At the May 7th budget meeting, we heard troubling testimony from educators about students not receiving the IEP services they're legally entitled to. This should not have been a surprise to administration or the school committee. Service hours must be tracked and missed hours documented. Compensatory services are not optional, they are legally required. This data should already inform the budget process. Why did it take public testimony to bring this to light? How can we budget responsibly without knowing what's being delivered and what's not? I want to respond to the mayor's recent statements. A 27% increase in school funding over 3 years, that's great, but that doesn't negate where we are currently and our children's current needs. The budget must meet today's needs. My child's education is not just a line item, it's their right. Approximately 90% of students with disabilities in our district are not meeting grade level expectations. That's not just a statistic, it's a crisis. Still, past investments don't erase current responsibilities. The budget must meet today's, our services being delivered equitably across race, income, language, and disability category. This brings me to child fines, something that's supposed to be discussed later today. I've raised concerns about how the district is fulfilling this obligation and expressed concerns previously with this committee about how MTSS has been used to delay or defer required services for children. I've asked the district to audit its child fine practices to ensure equitable identification of students and support staff in making referrals. Families shouldn't have to fight for services their children are legally entitled to. Yet those with advocates and educational lawyers often succeed while others are denied. Meanwhile, the district spends public funds on legal disputes fighting families instead of supporting students and staff. That's not equity. Nationally, disability rights are under attack. IDEA remains underfunded, the Department of Education is being dismantled, families are losing critical systems to hold school districts accountable. We cannot let these injustices take root in our city. This is a moment to lead with urgency, integrity, and commitment to equity. When we center those most often left behind, we uphold not only the law, but our shared values. That's how we build stronger schools and a more just city. Thank you.
Next, I have Taylor Byrne, followed by Jess Perez Adams, and then Melissa Moore. Taylor, the floor is yours.
Good evening. My name is Taylor Byrne. I'm a Ward 2 resident and an educator at Somerville High School. I'm speaking tonight in strong support of a 10% increase to the Somerville Public Schools budget. Standing here, my nerves are calmed seeing some familiar faces, as I've had the pleasure of teaching ceramics to some of your children. Your artists are among those who have helped me fundraise for materials our department can't afford through the district, who help me teach their peers because I have multiple levels of students in one class without the appropriate support, who volunteer their time outside of classroom to do studio maintenance and community outreach that the educators cannot do themselves. Our artists and many others are the reason why I pour everything I have into my classroom, my time, my energy, my heart, and too often my own money. Every day my students walk into a warm, safe, fully stocked studio, not because the district provides what they need, but because my colleagues and I make it happen. This current reality is not sustainable, not for me or any of us. I chose to work in Somerville because this city is where I call home. I believe deeply in the power of public education when it's rooted in community. I teach the children of my neighbors, colleagues, and if I continue living in Somerville, hopefully one day the children of my friends. Our community has seen the difference a strong, committed educator makes in their students' lives, and I know I'm one of those educators. But every month when I send my landlord my rent check, I question whether I can afford to stay. Tonight, I am here as a passionate educator and a concerned citizen, asking you, the school committee, to step up and do what is right. Have the courage to listen to your constituents and give our students the education they deserve by supporting a 10% budget increase. Help us secure the resources to retain great teachers, to build staffing models that reflect our students' needs, and to honor the work we already do every day. After this, I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna wrap some gifts that I bought with my own money that I'll be giving to my graduating seniors tomorrow during their last day of high school. Seniors who will be sent out into the world with a high-quality education provided to them by the passion and sacrifices of their SPS educators. I am confident that they will thrive because of what myself and my colleagues have given them. Do what you can to ensure that the future SHS graduates thrive because of the funds you have ensured Somerville Public Schools have received.
Next, I have Jess Perez Adams, followed by Melissa Moore, and then Brendan Bulliard.
Hi, I'm Jess Adams, Kennedy parent of 3 kids, well, 2 right now. One's home for several weeks at this point. I want families watching at home to know you're not imagining it, you're not overreacting, you're not alone. My oldest child, Sunshine, was hurt at school last year. Her growth plate in her heel was broken. And after I asked her IEP team for help due to her safety and spatial awareness, and that was denied, a few weeks later, her amazing 3rd grade teacher at the time, Ms. Tremonti, carried my child bleeding and soaking wet from the pool up a flight of stairs and across the school building because there was no protocol to help. There was no para. There were no safety precautions on my child's IEP. My middle child, Peyton, she's got a 504 for ADHD. I'm sorry, this is new, they've recently come out as non-binary to me and their peers at school. They had a death threat against them earlier in the school year, had their leg broken a few months after, and after a series of botched investigations, we were told the district wouldn't even speak with us regarding Peyton's safety without their lawyer present, and that their doctor's medical notes had no implications in any safety planning, and that the district knew better than their doctor at what would keep them safe. So they've been home for weeks. My youngest, Phoenix, will start 1st grade this fall. Instead of being excited, I'm so nervous. This isn't about one bad day. This is about a system, a district that waits for harm and then minimize it. And then we're told that's level service and it should be enough. But the budget that's currently level service spent $7 million on out-of-district placements last year and legal fees because it couldn't meet our kids' needs. That's not maintenance, it is failure. Meanwhile, there are families just like mine paying out of pocket for neuropsych evaluations because they don't know the district is supposed to offer psychoeducational testing. That is a huge child fine violation, and it's happening over and over at schools across the district. Instead of guidance, families are getting gaslit, okay? Instead of real support, teachers are funding classroom newspapers and theme days to celebrate their children out of their own pockets. Educators like Mrs. Screama in kindergarten track detailed data on every single student while begging for services the district fights. We're relying on record numbers of unpaid volunteers to keep the schools running. That's not a sign of community strength, it's systemic neglect. District and school leadership are so disconnected, it seems. It's hard to tell whether it's dysfunction or if it's by design. Either way, our kids are the ones getting hurt. The futures of this city, this state, this country, and the world. We need a budget that reflects our values, not our lawsuits, not our out-of-district placements, a budget that supports our teachers, not our public relations, a budget that protects our kids before, not after they're harmed. 10% is enough, and really enough is enough. Do better.
Next, I have Melissa Moore, followed by Brendan, followed by Cesar Uranuga.
Hi, my name is Melissa Moore. I'm a resident of Somerville and a Winter Hill educator, 7th and 8th grade science. In one of my classes, I have one student who cannot access the curriculum without one-to-one support. If I do not sit next to him, he will put his head down and he will not learn. I have 18 other students in that one class. 12 of them are MLLs, 3 have IEPs, and 2 have 504 plans. Those students also need support. They also have questions, and they also deserve my time and attention. But I know from my experience, as soon as I leave that student's side, he will no longer be able to access the curriculum, and his head will go down. This is what a level service budget looks like. If this is enough, I would like the mayor to come visit my classroom and tell me, do I help that one student and make sure he can learn? Or do I help my rest of my class and know that I'm failing that student? As many of us have said, I am one person, and this could very easily be solved by a 10% increase and supporting a co-teaching model. You've heard from myself, you've heard from my colleagues, you've heard from families, community members. We have all passionately shared why this budget increase is vital for our students. Now is your moment to show you have been listening, you have heard us, you are with us. Please support us, join our efforts, and support the 10% increase in the budget. Thank you.
Next, I have Brendan, followed by Cesar Uranuga, followed by Megan Brady. Brendan, the floor is yours.
Thanks. I'm just going to keep reading my comment until it is no longer descriptive of the conditions in this district. Good evening. My name is Brendan Buckland, and I am a Somerville resident, a voter, and I hope someday soon still to pay home owners' taxes in this city. I'm also a member of the SU and a dean of students at Winter Hill, a school that serves as the object lesson in under-prioritizing and underfunding education in city budgets. I am speaking tonight in support of prioritizing Somerville Public Schools in the budget, and that means a 10% increase, which I enthusiastically support. I'm here to tell you why attracting and retaining high-quality staff is so important to me and my students. The Winter Hill is one of the harder schools to work for in this city. On top of our well-known building issues stemming from deprioritization by the city, we also work with populations that need the most support and deserve more dollars spent, not fewer. Our students with autism, our language learners, and our newcomer students have intensive needs and deserve the most highly qualified educators. When strong, new, and experienced teachers look at the job marketplace, they are savvy and they are informed. Somerville should keep pace with its neighbors to not lose out on the best candidates. As Winter Hill settles into the Edgerly School, we have turned our attention to the sad truth that we are the worst performing school in the district for MCAS scores. Though these are an imperfect metric, to be sure, they are the best shorthand we have for this forum to compare the worst performing, us at the 9th percentile, with the highest, an unnamed, I celebrate them, school at the 90th percentile. Again, we are the 9th. There's another school in our district that performs in the 90th percentile. I do not know how the city and the district can look at such a situation and call for level service delivery. This is a living example of an equity issue, a crisis calling out for more resources, not fewer. We are often told that collective teacher efficacy is the best lever by which to affect real change in our schools. Ensure that we collect effective teachers and keep them in classrooms like the Winter Hill by increasing the school's budget and meeting this moment of crisis with leadership. I hope you will join our efforts and support our vision for quality education in Somerville. It is what our students deserve.
Next, I have Caesar, followed by Megan Brady, and then Lindsay Richard. The floor is yours.
Hello. Is that good? Okay. Hi. My name is Cesar Urunaga. I am a Somerville resident, father to a 9th grader at the high school, and a 7th grade math teacher at East Somerville Community School. And we've heard the words, do more with less from the mayor in the last couple of weeks, but we don't have to. This idea that we have no money for our schools is a problem that has been created for absolutely no reason. We know that the city has $33 million in this account, free cash account. Of course, we want to keep a AAA rating. But any financial institution would still give Somerville a AAA rating if we only had $20 million in this account. We also know, based on prior years, that this account will likely grow by $8 to $22 million in the next year. So I ask you, the school committee, please put our students first. We should not waste time with a working group and consultants telling us what we already know. The experts are right here. We know what we need. I'll take the $20,000 for that expert, and I will tell you. If we want to have an inclusion model that works, we need to hire enough special educators so that they don't have to choose between supporting students in an ELA classroom or a math classroom. Students should have support in every class. We need to have enough ESL teachers to support students in every class. Yes, in a math class, we use a lot of vocabulary, but I don't have ESL support in my class. There's a couple students in my class are lucky that I can speak Spanish. They don't have that in other classes. We need to do what we can to keep our teachers and paras from leaving us for better paying positions in other districts. Money may not be the answer to all of our life's problems, but sometimes it can do a whole lot of good. I ask you, please fully fund our schools. Thank you.
Next, I have Megan Brady, followed by Lindsay Richard, and then we will move on to our Zoom commenters. Megan, the floor is yours.
Good evening. My name is Megan Brady, and I teach 8th grade civics at the Winter Hill. A few weeks ago, I learned that my semifinalist application for the 2026 Massachusetts Teacher of the Year didn't advance to the penultimate round. I cried in my empty classroom because I let myself dream of winning the $10,000 prize money to set up a scholarship fund for the Wildcats. I still feel I failed my kids. That is how much it means to me to invest in my students, their education, and their future. That is how hard I have to work to compensate for the ongoing neglect of my students. $33 million exists. $5 million pays living wages, increases staff support for students who need it most, reduces class sizes across the district, and ensures skilled teachers want to stay here. Your move.
Next, I have Lindsay Richard.
Good evening, I'm Lindsay Richard, and I'm entering my 11th year teaching here in the Somerville Public Schools. I love my job. I love my students. I love helping young people grow into the creative, capable thinkers that they are. I teach a full load of art classes, grades 9 through 12, students of all levels and all needs. I run an art club and I lead the staff community building committee, and I do it all with love because I believe in public education. But the truth is, I am deeply tired of loving a career that does not love me back. Like many of my colleagues, I entered this profession knowing I was choosing a modest life, no lavish vacations or luxury cars. I followed in the footsteps of my parents and my grandparents, all public educators, believing that the work itself mattered more than the paycheck. And I'm an art teacher. I know how to do more with less. I didn't agree to fall behind further every year, especially not in a city that is sitting on $33 million of free cash, money that could and should be used to fully fund our schools. The mayor proposed a 5% increase, and that is not an investment. It's not even treading water. It's simply offensive. Without a real increase, 10% or more, I face what amounts to a pay cut in the coming year. Despite a decade of service and rising costs in every part of my life and yours, the budget does not affect me, but it does not just affect me, but it will affect the quality of education that my students receive. It will affect our staff retention. It will, and it has affected our morale. We can afford to fully fund our schools. What we are lacking is political will, and I'm asking you to please find it. I'm asking you to vote for a 10% increase, not just to support teachers like me, but to show our students that they matter and that this city believes in them and their future. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move to Zoom public comment. We have 6 people signed up on Zoom, so I will read the 3 names in a row on Zoom so you can be prepared at home. So first, I have Amy Myrtle, followed by Matthew Daniels, and then Lucy Lyons. Amy, if you want to unmute yourself.
Hello. My name is Amy. I am a parent of students at East Somerville Community School and at the high school. I'm a Ward 1 resident at 60 on Mount Vernon Street. I want to express here one more time my strong support for a budget increase of 10% for Somerville Public Schools. As many people have commented more eloquently than me, we have deep equity gaps in our schools, and we have educators who are overworked, underpaid, and overwhelmed. A level budget will not do anything to address these issues. As parents, we also want to see manageable class sizes. We want to see enough educators to serve the needs of special education students and multilingual learners. And we want paraprofessionals and family liaisons who receive a living wage, not a poverty wage, and don't have to run from day jobs caring for our kids right to night jobs that then leave them burned out and tired. I urge the mayor's office to increase the SPS budget by 10% for next year. And if the mayor's office will not do that, then I urge the school committee and the SPS administration to stand with parents and stand with staff to demand this increase. If we are united, if we keep being loud and we don't stand down, the money will be found. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Matthew Daniels, followed by Lucy Lyons, and then Colette Berard. Matthew? Matthew, can you hear us? If you want to unmute yourself and speak. I will come back to you and see if we can get you on, Matthew. So I will go to Lucy Lyons.
Good evening. My name is Lucy Lyons. I'm a dean at East Somerville School, and before that I worked at East as a special education teacher. We need a 10% budget increase for SPS. I cannot afford to buy even a small condo anywhere near Somerville, let alone in Somerville. And I cannot imagine living on a paraprofessional's salary as well. I'm here but that's not why I'm here tonight. I'm here because I'm tired of the glaring inequities between schools in this district, and I am tired of watching our most vulnerable students consistently not having their needs met due to insufficient and inequitable staffing model. We need a real and effective inclusion model. As a special educator in this district for 4 years, I saw my students consistently struggling academically and not getting the support they need to make meaningful progress. The majority of my caseload last year were 3 or more years behind in reading. These students were still learning letter sounds while being expected to read essays and write paragraphs in their gen ed classroom, where there is one teacher to support 20 plus students, half of whom are also learning English. This is not a reasonable expectation for teachers or these students. And the result is more often than not maladaptive behaviors, which get in the way of their own and their peers' learning, and sometimes create learning environments which are not safe. This year, as a dean, I see these disciplinary inequities even more clearly. They are explicit evidence that our students with disabilities are not getting the support they need. Students with disabilities are disproportionately represented in our school disciplinary referrals. This is not because they are bad kids or they are not trying. It is because SPS is not giving our most vulnerable students the support and resources they need to succeed. The teachers know this, but by allowing this oppression to continue, over time, we are giving our most vulnerable students the message that they are not capable and not worthy. We can do so much better, but the idea that our teachers should be doing more with less once again places the blame and burden onto our teachers and deflects from the inequities that Mayor endorses when she makes the choice to not prioritize funding our schools. We do not need to do more with less or to further burn out our teachers. We need more student-facing positions. We need special education paras or co-teaching model to support student behavior and learning for all students. And while the district would love to gaslight us into believing this is an unreasonable request, we can see from looking at the models of districts around us that it is very much attainable. I hope you will support us in our vision and put your money where your values are.
Next, I have Colette Berard, and then Aveva Manning, and then Caitlin Rappaport. Colette, if you want to unmute yourself. Colette is no longer here. Okay. Aviva, do you want to unmute yourself?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Aviva Manning, and I'm a teacher at what should be 115 Sycamore Street, but because the city's previous disregard for public comment is 8 Bonaire Street at the Winter Hill School. I love the staff, students, and families I work with. Every year, the community has worked hard to come together and be there for one another. Our families and students have put up with so much: dilapidated buildings, a pandemic where we were the only building that could not go back, falling ceiling tiles, double drop-off because the city could not accommodate our community in one space, mice, and now another sick building with poor air quality, rodent infestation, and leaking plumbing, and now with no alternative. The idea that you would ask us to do more with less is not only insulting, but laughable. Our students and families have put up with so much because you have done nothing, the city has done nothing, despite making more money over gentrification and multi-million-dollar homes. Where exactly is that money going? It is for that reason that I'm supporting the request in a 10% in the overall school budget. Let me make this clear. I'm calling in tonight not to speak on behalf of my own paycheck, but on the needs of my students and what they deserve. Our students face so many trials and tribulations just to make it to the morning bell. Why should they be the ones having to make up for the deficits in the budget by rolling with mice and mildew and other results of inadequate funding? If we are truly a sanctuary city and pride ourselves in inclusivity, why are we not providing sanctuary and inclusivity for those that need it most, our children? A zip code should not determine the support and education a student deserves and be so incredibly inequitable across the city, where one building hatches chickens and makes cookies with the kitchen staff, and another needs to refrain from eating in the classroom due to rodents literally crawling under students and has water leaking from the ceiling due to 100-year-old pipes and no city to fix them. It is time to come together as a Somerville community and take care of all schools and all children. I implore you, increase the budget and do more for those that need it most. Thank you.
Next, I have Caitlin Rappaport, and then I'll go back and try Matthew Daniels. Caitlin, if you want to unmute yourself.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, good evening. My name is Caitlin Rappaport, as you said, 16 Virginia Street here in Somerville. I'm a parent of a child at the Capuano School, community member, taxpayer. I'm speaking tonight in support of prioritizing Somerville Public Schools in the budget, as everybody else has. This means a 10% increase minimum. Our students, staff, and faculty deserve fully funded schools. I'm an educator myself and an artist. I teach theatrical design and technology at Northeastern University. Theater and music saved my life when I was in high school, by the way, so thank you, high school music and art and theater teachers. I'm also schooled entirely in Massachusetts public education system, as is my husband. And we send our kids to public school because we believe that here in this state, in this city, we can give every child a first-rate education. But that's not what's happening here. As we've heard from many educators here this evening, that is not what's happening here. The children are literally our collective future in this city and beyond. In the face of a federal administration who hopes to gut public education, we collectively are the last stand for our kids in every demographic to receive quality, actual, equitable schooling so they can reach their fullest potential. The only way that we can do that is to fully fund our schools. Our schools are clearly so under-resourced, not enough specialists to meet the needs of our students with IEPs, not enough teachers or support staff, unsustainable teaching and service models, and not competitive enough salaries to retain great teachers and attract new talent into our ever-increasingly expensive district. People who work here should be able to afford to live here and work sustainably. You know, I keep hearing people imploring this committee to be brave and fully fund our schools. This should not require bravery. This should be a no-brainer. Who is this money for if not our kids? This is the time for big action, not incremental change. We need robust funding for our schools now. Let's fully invest in our kids. Thank you.
And that brings us to Matthew Daniels. Are you able to unmute yourself, Matthew?
Yes, I'm here now.
Okay, great. The floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Matthew Daniels. I live at 10 Minor Street in Ward 5. I'm a proud Winter Hill parent and a member of the Construction Advisory Group to help determine and make a recommendation about how and where to rebuild the closed Winter Hill School at Sycamore Street. One thing I've seen in that group over and over is the desire of all the members to really create a school for our community that we can be proud of, regardless of what that location and makeup is, whatever form it takes. And it's really clear that we need a budget appropriate for the growing needs of our community. Whatever form it takes, that new building will be involved in some way with critical programs like the AIM and Newcomer Academy currently at Edgerly. Whatever form it takes, that new building is really useless without a well-supported faculty and staff. So I don't want to risk wasting all of people's time and effort in planning this new school if we're not willing to fund it appropriately. And I urge the committee to support a budget that does this.
Okay. That concludes public comment. Thank you all for coming, and as you know, we have a finance meeting on Wednesday night where we will be deliberating this budget. I'm going to go back and do an approval of minutes because I skipped over that. So I will entertain a motion for minutes approval from April 28th.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Ackman, seconded by Mr. Bitone. If there is no discussion, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. That brings us back to the report of the superintendent. If you want to continue with your report, Superintendent.
I do. First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming here tonight.
As I have said it before, your participation in the process makes this a much more robust and democratic process. I also want to thank you for having joined us to celebrate our Val and Sal celebration as well as the robotics team. So our students were celebrated tonight for their amazing accomplishments. So thank you for being here, for those of you who are at home and those of you who are present. So I wanted to go back and discuss some of the things that we shared before. But I want to be brief, and we have spoken a lot about the budget in recent days. So tonight, I will be very brief. So I want to be crystal clear about where we stand as a district. So Somerville Public Schools stand with our students, staff, and families in advocating for sufficient funds and resources for our schools. The city has asked us for a 5% budget increase. We have made every effort to align with that request and have proposed a 5.25% increase, which we believe is the minimum needed to meet the essential student needs and maintain some degree of educational quality. Throughout this process, we have been in regular dialogue with the city administration, meeting with them bi-weekly to communicate our needs, whether they are compliance needs, whether they are staffing or curriculum. At the state level, we have engaged with our legislative delegation to advocate for increased funding for pre-K to 12. And at the federal level, as you know, we have been vocal in defending the critical role of the Department of Education in our state. So last week during our budget presentation, we heard directly from many of you. Your comments about special education, staffing, compensation, and facilities underscore how deeply our community cares about our schools and how important it is that we get this right. Please know that we take every single comment to heart. We are deeply committed to inclusive education that meets the needs of all our students. We're proud of the extensive community engagement that has guided us and remain fully committed to advocating at every level of government for the resources our students deserve. This conversation is about the future of our district, and we look forward in working together with the school committee, city council, and the administration to finalize a budget that reflects our shared values. So again, thank you for being here tonight, and with that, I'm going to shift gears to the rest of the presentation. So I know we celebrated our amazing robotics demonstration, and so we're thankful that they were here tonight. I also want to recognize our CTE awards. So I don't know if many of you were present, but this was an amazing celebration. We held our CTE awards banquet on May 14. Congratulations to the students who won the awards and scholarships, and a special acknowledgement to Long-Term Finance Department employee Mary Kelly, who received the CTE Lifetime Achievement Award. So, thank you. I also want to highlight a couple of important dates that the high school, and there are many things happening this month, so I want to make sure that I highlight them. So the class of 2025 has an exciting calendar ahead, including the National Honor Society induction on May 20. Prom is on Thursday, May 22nd. Somerville Scholarship Night is on May 28. Class Day is on May 29. And graduation is on June 2nd. Additionally, the Full Circle graduation ceremony is on June 4, and our adult education students' scale graduation ceremony is on June 11. So don't forget to keep your eyes open for wonderful spring concerts. You can find concerts dates on our district calendar. Jess, can you?
Absolutely. Excuse me. An important announcement about statewide K-12 graduation council is having a listening session at Somerville High School. So Somerville High School will host a statewide K-12 graduation council listening session on Wednesday, May 28th from 5 to 7 p.m. This council is convened by Governor Maura Healey and is working to define graduation requirements from high school in Massachusetts. So we encourage students, families, and community members and staff to attend. More information is available on our district calendar on our website.
Okay, thank you. I just had a minor correction. Class Day is on May 30. I said May 29, so May 30. So, and so to close out tonight's district report, Assistant Superintendent Dr. Jessica Boston Davis will share the quarterly academic update. Then our Director of Special Education, Ildefonso Arellano, will be available to discuss the Child Fine Law and answer any questions. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Jessica Boston Davis.
Thank you, Superintendent Carmona. So we have our quarterly academic update here. And this one is focused really on the curriculum rollout that's happening across our district, but this is focusing in on grades K through 8. And the specific focus here, excuse me, is around math and ELA and what curriculum will be implemented for next year. So in alignment with our SPS strategic plan, our top academic priority is to adopt and implement high-quality, evidence-based, and culturally responsive curriculum. So the purpose of the memo is to provide an update on the progress of the curriculum implementation at our elementary schools planned for next school year. It's important to note that this memo focuses on universal Tier 1 curriculum that will be implemented in math and ELA, so that means curriculum for that all students have access to. And as you know, as a district, we've embarked on a district-wide curriculum rollout over the past few years. So in the memo, you'll see a breakdown of curriculum implementation by grade. You'll see professional development support, and you'll see additional considerations, including community involvement. Additionally, the memo shows a table for the curriculum rollout. So in summary, for next year, I'm excited that in grades 6 through 8 will be fully implemented, full implementation of our fish tank curriculum in ELA, and continued use and full implementation of illustrative mathematics. In grades 3 through 5 in ELA will be in year 1 of our new implementation of our new ELA curriculum that is currently being selected, and we will have a recommendation from that selection team by May 30th. And in math, this current school year was year 1 of illustrative mathematics, so next year will be continued use of the illustrative mathematics curriculum. And in grades K through 2, we will have some early adopters of the newly selected ELA curriculum. And in math, we'll be in year 1 of full implementation of illustrative mathematics. With that, I'm happy to entertain any questions about the memo.
Dr. Allen?
Thank you. For the new ELA curriculum, what's PD for teachers going to look like? Is it going to start over the summer? I think I remember you saying it might be compensated. Can you just dive into that a little?
Yes, absolutely. Let me. So there on page 3 of the memo, there's a very high-level overview. So there will be optional professional development over the summer that is compensated, similar to how we had optional PD for fish tank for grades 6 through 8 teachers last summer. We had a lot of teachers that were interested in participating. If there's additional curriculum, there's additional professional development in August if teachers are not able to attend the summer professional development, and all department meeting time. So we have department meetings throughout the department meeting PD throughout the school year. So for grades 3 through 5, all department meetings will focus on the new ELA curriculum. We also will continue with unit previews as we did this year. We're looking into what that will look like in grades 6 through 8 because we think it's a great practice, but we're not exactly sure, exactly how that will look in grades 6 through 8, but for grades 3 through 5, we'll continue unit previews. Common planning time is a great space that can be used to collaborate and enhance planning, looking at student work protocols and assess and normal assessments. We also will have PD for administrators. So we started that this year. That was a new shift. So any admin that supervises Unit A SEU members will have, and did have this year, but will continue to have PD specifically on the new ELA curriculum. But we did that this year for Fish Tank. We also did it for illustrative mathematics several times throughout the school year, and we started in August when all admin come back in August. Yeah, so that's an overview of the PD. Thank you.
Ms. Baton?
Thank you, through you, to Dr. Boston Davis. Thank you for sharing this memo. Incredibly excited about the curriculum enhancements that are happening, and appreciate all the work that's going into PD. I just wanted to highlight that in this memo, there's a reference to a dyslexia action plan, which I think is something new, and that is something that has been definitely needed. So if you want to speak to that briefly, I haven't had a chance to link through and read it, but if you can give us a quick highlight, this is a really important advancement for the district, so thank you.
Absolutely, thank you for the question. So we were able to participate in the Massachusetts Dyslexia Institute. So it was Kathleen Seward along with a number of educators who were able to participate. And in that institute, there were several, and it was really professional development. There were several meetings throughout the year. And it ended with the creation of this dyslexia action plan. What could be noted is that much of the work in the plan in that institute was establishing clear and consistent evidence-based and research-based Tier 1 curriculum and assessment practices. So that was like a large chunk of their work. But the Dyslexia Action Plan is linked on the SPS website. We did talk about, how far in depth we want to go, but currently it's linked under the academics, or you can also click curriculum on the website, and it's just under the resources tab, and would be happy to collaborate with Kathleen and perhaps some of the other authors of the Dyslexia Action Plan. If you would like a full memo or overview in the next meeting, we can easily provide that to go in depth.
Thank you. I'll try to read it.
Okay.
All right, are there other questions? Yes, Mr. Beaton.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Dr. Boston Davis. Thank you for this memo, and I also look forward to reading the Dyslexia Action Plan. I'm very excited to learn about it. At the end of the memo, there's a little bit about community engagement, and that may be in a few different sections. Yes. And I think a lot of this is about what we've already done, and I think that's fantastic. I'm wondering, how will we continue to leverage parent nights at our schools to continue that community engagement process? Is there a plan for that? Because a lot of these curricula are new, not only obviously to the teachers, but obviously to the parents, and supporting the kids' continued development at home is a really critical piece to this. So can you speak to that?
Absolutely, thank you for the question. Through you, Chair, excuse me. Absolutely, thank you for the question. So yes, we will continue with, so there are two separate kind of parent engagement like nights that what I heard you describe. First is from the district level. So if you look at, for example, page 4 on the memo, Paula O'Sullivan and the math coaches led 3 information sessions. 2 were in person, 1 was on Zoom, for grades 3 through 5 specifically on illustrative mathematics. They will do that again next year, specifically for grades K through 2 on illustrative mathematics. I point that out because we also have the slides to those sessions in appendices B, and it will, you can kind of see how they break down the very point that you made, Member Baton, that, math may not, the way it's being taught may not be the same as the way we as parents learned, and so it was really helpful in that regard. So we at the district level will coordinate those same things. At the same time, schools will also continue to coordinate their family and literacy and math nights. One thing that I'm looking forward to doing next year that was not done this year is more sharing across the principal community and principal team, more formalized, I should say. They do a lot of sharing. It's a great team. But you know, how do we formalize our processes to share best practices? Because there's some really amazing things that happen across our city at different like literacy nights and math nights. And so I think we can do a better job of formally sharing both the schedules of when those things happen, but also the content and how they're being, you know, kind of created. So that is something that is in the working. So both from a district level, specific about the curriculum, and at the school level, which I think would probably better tailor to the students and in each community and you know, the educators that teach them.
Are there other questions on them? Yes, Dr. Phillips.
Thanks, through Chair. I actually had a question about the preamble of the superintendent's report. Is that okay?
Sure.
It's actually through you to Council President Pineda Neufeld. I see tomorrow that the City Council Finance Committee is going to take up an order from you that the city adopt Chapter 329 of the Acts of 1987, and I'm wondering if you could explain to all of us what that means and what needs to happen for it to take effect.
I will do the best I can, member. Thank you for asking that question. So, a little context. How far back do we go? The City Council, as folks here know, has very little power around budgetary allocation other than cutting the budget. The exception to that is around accepting a budget from the school committee that differs than the mayor's proposed budget. In order for us to retain the power to be able to accept a different budget from the school committee, from the schools, we need to go back to this state law and accept it as a council. There was a time in which the council had rejected that power, so we need to go back and have the power re-granted to us as a council. So I put the order in for the meeting a couple of weeks ago, which I wasn't present at, so there were some questions, which is why I sent to committee, so I went to finance. Finance meets tomorrow night. They will discuss and make a recommendation back to the council, and we meet this Thursday. At that point, we can either approve or reject it, and then it goes to the mayor. For it to take effect, the mayor has to sign on. Once that happens, if that happens, then it would take effect immediately. So it would impact this budget season if we were to get a signature from the mayor on it. Did I do, Chair Krepchen, did I do an okay job summarizing?
That is my understanding as well. It looks like Mr. Green has a question or comment. And then Mr. Tone.
A comment and a question. So to be clear, the status quo is, come Wednesday, we could literally double the budget, and the mayor could unilaterally still submit a budget number she wanted, and that's what the council would have to vote on as status quo. If you were to pass this law, or pass this, whatever you would call it, I don't know if it's a resolution or law, whatever, can you, and the mayor were to refuse to sign it, can you overturn that veto?
No, we need a mayoral signature on it, and it's not something that we can, it's not like a ordinance that we could override a veto. Good question.
Ms. Patone.
Thank you, through the chair, to President Pineda Neufeld. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. Thank you to the chair of the school committee. I think you guys have been working together on trying to pursue this and seeing that this is an option that makes sense for our city. I don't know if you can speak to this, but I'm curious if the mayor's given any indication whether or not that they would be amenable to this idea, or whether or not, you may not want to speak to this, but I'm curious.
I think it's a question for the mayor herself.
Are there any other questions or comments on either this or back to the curriculum memo?
Sorry, Chair Krupchen, may I also
Yes.
add one more piece?
Please do.
If we're following the domino effect here, if we were to pass it at the council level and we got a signature, if there were a time in which the city council were to adopt a budget from the school committee that were different from the mayor's budget, it would be incumbent also, it would be the fiscally responsible thing to do as a council for us to also discuss during cut night how to get there. So if any of my colleagues are listening, finding the camera here in the room, it's something to start to think about now, because we only have a month or so until cut night. And so there's a long way to get there, but that would be something for us to consider as a council. And as you all know, there are very few days between cut night and when we are obligated to pass a budget in order to make sure people are paid in the beginning of the next fiscal year.
Ms. Patone and then Mr. Green.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Just to clarify, it sounds like if this goes through and the mayor happens to choose to do it, and then the city council decides to invoke it, because they may or may not invoke it, correct? Either the mayor can take it onto themselves to adjust the budget, or the city council can be directive and be very specific about cuts. But they cannot do things like say, we want you to take this from the stabilization fund. That's all the mayor's responsibility, correct?
Correct. We can only cut, and we could also just accept a budget and have the city staff do the hard work of cutting as well. So there's multiple ways to get there.
Mr. Green.
I recognize that time is of the essence, and this is wildly abnormal, but does it make sense for the school committee to give some sense of our support, or lack thereof, for the council to have this power? And I'm asking as an open question, not making a motion, because it is so not how we do things to rush things like this, but if we wanted to have feedback on this, we have to do it today.
I mean, I personally have pursued this because I think it's a helpful option to have. So I would feel comfortable saying that I would personally endorse the city council doing this, but I don't know if we want to make a motion as a body, or if anyone else wants to comment, they can. Mr. Bitton.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Councilor Pineda-Neufeld. Can you give a little more background on when we gave away this authority and why, what the rationale? I'm wondering what potential...
Just to be clear, we didn't give it away, we just never accepted it. Like, it's, if I'm understanding correctly, like this was a state law that we would have had, the city council would have had to accept in order to go into effect. They chose not to do that.
Never to do that.
Correct.
Okay,
and I don't
thank
know
you.
if Ms. Pineda-Neufeld has any other context.
And I'm just wondering why. Yeah.
I get the question, I just don't know.
Yeah,
a long
I
time
don't,
ago.
I can do some digging on, as to the background around it. That's a good question. And the way I've been explaining this to folks is that this doesn't have to be about this year's budget. This is a procedural question around, should the city council have this option that we think we have? That's what I think this is about. This is not about the politics of this moment or what is happening or the discussions we're having about the budget. I think this is really a procedural question. And so I don't sit on finance, but I've had conversations with the chair to share my perspective on this. And so I'm looking forward to hearing how that conversation goes tomorrow.
And just to be clear, this would allow the city council to choose a higher budget from the school committee, not require them.
Right.
So I'm just clarifying that.
Gives us options.
Ms. Patone.
Thank you, through you. I'm still processing this. I mean, on the surface, it seems interesting. As President Pineda-Neufeld said, this is not about today. This is about forever. Once you invoke this, it's something that is always going to be on the books, which is not necessarily a bad thing. And I don't know really anything about other municipalities who have adopted this, whether or not it gets invoked very often. I'm sure this is something that possibly the city council is looking into, but those are the kind of questions I would like to know about before I would weigh in on it either way.
Oh, yes, Ms. Parrish? Thank you.
I apologize for either missing it or not understanding, and for not knowing that this option exists. So my gratitude and kudos to everyone who has been thinking about this and pursuing this up to this point. I think what I heard is that this change, adoption of this rule, would allow City Council to adopt a budget that for the schools that is different from what the mayor has selected, which I think means that it could in fact be lower should a city council decide that the mayor has proposed. And I don't mean to imply that our current city council would do that. I'm just trying to understand what the potential implications are of this for future where it's a different city council and a different school committee and a different mayor.
So my understanding is that what would be presented to the city council, should this be adopted, is either here's the mayor's budget or here's the school committee's budget, and the city council can choose one or the other. They can't just come up with their own new school's budget that's different than those other two. Does that help?
That does help. Thank you.
Mr. Green?
The only thing I would add is, and this is actually a question, currently sorry, actually this is debatable, but currently we're told that the city council can only do an up or down vote on the school budget. I know that in prior years, city councils have threatened to try to cut the total number, which they can't do anything below that level. Would that still be an option for them? Would that be an option under the new plan?
Do you have any insight?
I apologize, Member Green, I was trying to read the exact language of the...
For example, if the mayor proposed 110 and we proposed 115, could a city councilor propose to adopt the 115 and chop off $1 million, or would it have to choose the number as is?
So for those who, I'm not a lawyer, just play one on TV, who want to read more about this, it's chapter 329 of the Acts of 1987 that we would be accepting. And so I pull up that language because I'm not sure if it totally answers their question, but I'm finding the exact language. So the city council may by majority vote make appropriations, hold on, it shall, one moment. Okay, it shall not increase any amount in or the total of the annual budget, nor add thereto any amount for any purpose not included therein, except on recommendation of the mayor and except as provided in section 33. Provided, however, that in case of the school budget or in the case of a regional school district assessment, the city council on the recommendation of the school committee or on recommendation of a regional district school committee may by a 2/3 vote, so we would need 2/3 on the council, increase the total amount appropriated for the support of the schools over that is requested by the mayor, and provided further that no such increase shall be voted if it would render the total annual budget in excess of the property tax limitation set forth by section 21 of Prop 2.5. Yeah. Did that answer your question? Yes. Great. That is the language that we are looking to accept.
Okay. Oh, yeah, Mr. Green.
So speaking for myself, I think I have a long tradition of always looking for ways to preserve or necessarily expand school committee authority, and a deep cynicism and skepticism of city council authority. I think these are things I've shown over my career, and I don't see a place where this weakens school committee, and so I don't see a reason why we wouldn't want this tool in our tool belt in order to advocate better for students.
Are there any other comments or questions on this? All right, seeing none, and just back to the academic update. Are there any other questions or comments on that? Okay, seeing none. Dr. Carmona, I believe there's one more item on your district report. That's okay. Do you need? Yeah. The child fine.
Oh, child fine, sorry. Yes, child fine, I know we presented probably 3 sessions ago. There were questions from the committee that were never answered or were half answered, so Mr. Director Arellano is going to be here tonight to provide any answers to any of the questions that you had from the last session that we have. So welcome, Mr. Arellano.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right. So I will entertain questions for Mr. Arellano. Yes, Mr. Biton?
Thank you, Chair, through you. Mr. Arellano, thank you for being here and for sticking it out. I know it's a late night,
okay.
So much appreciation. I don't recall what I wanted to ask 3 sessions ago, but I know what's on my mind now. I'm wondering, since we heard about the community screenings, combined with the efforts during the school year, if you can speak to, maybe in a percentage basis or numbers, I don't know, whatever you have, about how many students are identified by the district as opposed to those requested, or, evaluations requested by parents. Well, I know I'm asking about 2 different things there and maybe conflating them, but I don't know if you can get the sense of my question.
I think I might be able to answer some of those questions. In terms of the information regarding how many students have been identified, I can definitely go back and get that information. For this school year, the process is still going on, so we don't have that final number. At the end of the school year, once we have everything, I can definitely provide that information. I can give you a rough sense of last year in terms of how many parent referrals versus school referrals were given. So I am going to separate it a little bit in terms of, I'll talk about the pre-K to 8 schools, including the including the high school. And Capuano's a little bit different because Capuano, if you will, has 3 referral sources: parents, the school, and then there's the EI referrals. So that sometimes can be somewhat skewed, if you will, when you're looking at those numbers. But last year, approximately 202 students were referred for testing. About 56% of those came from the school, and another 44% came from parents. And again, that's the pre-K to 8 schools, including the high school. At the Capuano, we had 101 referrals. 36 came from parents, 6 came from the schools, and about 59 came from EI referrals. In terms of, we're still sifting through some of the data so we can get information in terms of out of the parent referrals, for example, how many of those actually ended up qualifying for services, the same for school. So I'm happy to provide that data for the school committee at a later time. And then at the end of this school year, I will provide more current information regarding those pieces.
I would be deeply grateful for that information. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Question over there. Yeah, Ms. Bouton.
Through you. Thank you for being here. I'm curious, when we hear testimonials about educators who are required to allocate time for MCAS testing, allocate time for evaluations, allocate time for emergencies, because we all do know that they come up where students are struggling, and particularly if their special educator is one of their safe people, that person gets pulled. I'm just curious how our, I'm not going to use the right language, but like how our staffing model incorporates that type of time in addition to their caseloads. I know it's a case-by-case basis, I understand that, but I'm just curious how we incorporate the fact that our educators, whatever, 30 hours a week or whatever, is not just back-to-back caseload. Obviously, there's planning time, but then there's all these other things that we know are going to happen that I'm curious how we plan for that in our staff loading.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think our educators, our special education teachers, educators in general, do an amazing job to support our students. But you are correct in terms of, in addition to their services, there's stuff that comes up on a daily basis. I think we heard from the special I think one of our school adjustment counselors had mentioned how because of crises that come up, everything is put on stop because we have to be able to, or they have to be able to support the students at that time. I think one of the important things that I'm getting from everything that we've been hearing is that we have to be able to identify when those situations are happening and how are they impacting the students accessing their services. I should be called, I should be able to be pulled in to look at that information and then make adjustments as necessary. I think in terms of the day-to-day work, just going back to your question, there is testing involved that special educators have to do. They are pulled to IEP meetings. They are pulled, as we've heard, for MCAS access proctoring, which does impact the ability for them to service their students. And it fluctuates throughout the years, right? Right now we're in MCAS right now, so yes, they are being pulled. And then whenever access comes, they are being pulled as well.
Thank you. Through the chair, as an attempt to sort of build on that, you spoke in this memo about child fine for privately enrolled children. I'm wondering if you could sort of speak to, my understanding is at least 250 the students in Somerville attend charter schools, and what is it for our special education staff? Because my understanding is the district is still responsible for any sped supports for those students as well. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but are there, for the privately enrolled students, what are those demands on our staff time? Because I assume travel is involved. And then can you let us know about Somerville residents in charter schools as well?
So in terms of the charter schools, we don't provide services to the students. We don't conduct child fine activities to charter schools. They are a public entity, so therefore they have their own child fine processes similar to ours, and they are responsible for the special education services there. There's one charter school here in Somerville, so they provide those services. We are in constant collaboration with them because if we know that students are returning to the district with an IEP, then we then become responsible for them. In terms of our private school students, under the law, we are responsible for child fines, so we do have to they are part of our screenings, our community screenings. If there are teachers, we do consultations with them 3 times a year or more, where we talk about the different child find activities that we do, the fact that they can come into our schools and be evaluated, and then if they do qualify for special education and they have an IEP, they have every right to come back into our district and access those services. So if there's a student at the parochial school here, St. Teresa's, for example, who has an IEP for speech and language, they have every right to come to get in contact with their neighborhood school, schedule a time to get to access those services here. But it would be the student coming here to the schools to receive those. If a parent is requesting an evaluation, the parent would be coming to our schools to do the evaluations here. Under the law, we are obligated to do these kinds of activities for them.
Thank you, and thank you for the clarification. Through the chair, can you give an estimate of the FTE of staff time spent on these activities?
I don't think that I can provide you an accurate number. I think it really depends on the number of evaluations that are being requested, but I'm happy to go back and take a look at the number of evals that are coming from the private schools to get you to give you a better idea.
Thank you.
Thank you through this. I have a follow-up about my original question. It sounds like, I don't know if we have mechanisms, like there's anecdotal, and I'm sure these things do happen. I don't use the word anecdotally to disregard it. But I don't know if we have mechanisms to collect data or information in terms of how these types of either unplanned or additional work impacts the ability to deliver services. I know we had some very extreme circumstances where someone was out on leave and we couldn't hire anyone, and we all know that that is incredibly unfortunate. But I'm trying to get at, like, do we have the mechanisms to even collect the data to be able to say, you know what, we really need district-wide an additional X FTE to be able to cover this work that's really part of their day-to-day work beyond their caseload. Because we all, I think what I'm struggling with is we all know how dedicated our educators are. And they're coming in this room sharing out some real life experiences. And I want to make sure that we're incorporating, like, A, is it a systemic problem? You know, B, do we need different types of staffing? I'm not the person to recommend those. I mean, that's what our amazing administrators do. But I'm just curious, do we have mechanisms to collect this type of data to be able to say, you know what, there really is a problem here in terms of our staffing or our system of how we staff and do our caseloads? Because we do have to incorporate absences, we do have to incorporate testing, we do have to incorporate evaluations, we do have to incorporate, you know, there's some educators that know that they're going to have to spend, you know, 2 hours a week on emergencies because every week they spend 2 hours on emergencies. So that's, I'm sorry, I keep talking, but if you can speak to the data concept.
I would say that a mechanism right now we use under the contract, we use caseload caps as a metric. I think I've been very clear when I first came in. Caseload caps don't necessarily capture all the work that our special educators do. So we need a better defined workload instead in order to be able to get that information from our special education staff.
Actually, Mr. Tone took most of my question and comment. I would just add on to say that I think this is information that we are going to need, especially if we are serious about efforts to update our staffing models to more accurately capture special education needs. So, like, if this is a thing where we need to create new systems or figure out a way to make that work and that capture that data doable without further adding the stress on our special education teachers, that is something we need to invest in.
Mr. Bitone and then Ms. Parrish.
Thank you, Chair, through you. I guess I'll follow up on those points and then get back in the queue for my original question, which is about the special education substitutes that we had discussed last year, and I can't pull out of the ether what happened with that, whether we incorporated those into our budget last year or if it didn't make it, and if not, I'm wondering if you can speak to that through you.
Sure. So last year, 3 substitutes were allocated as part of the special ed budget. There was one who was, that position was filled, and then 2 others that remained unfilled, and that continue to remain unfilled. So, you know, there's right now, I believe we had paired up the Healy and Winter Hill because that's where the department coordinators and the IEP team leaders were going to be housed. So I had paired those 2 schools. That was the school that had the substitute.
Ms. Parrish, then Dr. Phillips, and then I'll go back to Mr. Bitone.
Through you, I think my question is similar to Dr. Ackman's. I was curious about, I know that we do screenings for, I think, 3 to 5-year-olds throughout the city. I'm curious about older students who may be homeschooled or maybe in private schools outside of our city, and how we screen for that. And I know it's probably not a lot of children, but I'm curious about how they know about the system, what kind of outreach we do, and whether we offer screenings for older children or whether it's just for 3 to 5-year-olds.
The screenings are typically for students students ages 3 to 5. For older students, it usually comes in as a request for an evaluation. So we have a lot of families who request an evaluation, who are residents of Somerville, but perhaps their child is going to a private school in Cambridge or a surrounding town. And then those students who are who have that home hospitalization piece, the process is pretty similar. We do have information in terms of child find and child find information on our website in all 3 languages, so families can access that information. But like I said, we get, between Marissa McDonald, my assistant director, and myself, we do get contacted by families who are residents here who don't have their students coming to our schools, where we have to respond. And we do.
I'll actually hold it.
Thank you, Chair, through you. I am curious about the multi-tiered system of supports that we heard about a few weeks ago when we first discussed this. Can you clarify the role that the MTSS plays in how we respond to a particular situation with a student that we think might need an evaluation, whether an evaluation has been requested or by a teacher or by a parent, and how that MTSS process plays into the timing of such evaluations?
Sure. So I appreciate the question, and I'm happy to offer clarification. I would say that that schools throughout the year are constantly looking at their data, their iReady scores, their DIBELs. There's different interventions that may be happening throughout the year in order to target students who may need additional support. With that being said, the law is very clear. At any point during that process, the beginning, middle, even towards the end, if someone, a classroom teacher, an administrator, suspects that maybe there's more to what's going on, even though, for example, that they've started MTSS and they haven't finished it, at any point during that time, if there is a suspicion of a disability, we are obligated under the law to start the evaluation process. With that being said, that say, for example, it happens right at the beginning, right? We go straight into submitting a consent for testing. That MTSS process or that tiered intervention should continue to take place. The law is very clear. We have to have that information in order to help with eligibility. So as we're going through the testing, once we get to that eligibility phase, we are looking to see if the student has, there's questions that we have to answer in order to determine if students are eligible for services. The first one being, does the student have a disability? The answer to that question is yes. We move on. Is the student making effective progress? We are going to need information from our educators, which they will have in the form of iReady scores, DIBELs, MCAS, et cetera, work samples. And then if there's also MTSS information, all that data is being used to help answer that question. Is the student making effective progress? If the answer to that question is yes, that's where the process stops. If the answer to that question is no, the next question we then have to ask is the lack of progress to the area, to the identified area of disability? The answer to that question is yes. We then move on to the last question. Does the student require specialized instruction? If at that last question the team answers yes, the student is eligible for an IEP, to be provided eligibility services, and then you go through the development of the IEP team.
That's a follow-up. Through the chair, can you, the team is different in every circumstance. Can you talk about who is on those teams, what they represent, because the reality is in those situations, the weight of some voices carry more weight than others. So can you speak to that?
Sure. The teams may vary. The law says very clearly that we have to have someone who's going to be able to allocate district resources. That is typically the team chair, somebody chairing that meeting. The law says we have to have general education teachers present because they know the students. We have to have any of the specialists who conducted those evaluations. So we can have a speech-only evaluation where the speech pathologist has to be present in order to talk about the results and make recommendations. If it's a more involved evaluation, such as, for example, there was concerns with academics, the school psychologist may be present, the academic evaluator, and a special education teacher must be present. So it really depends on what brought forth the referral, but at the very minimum, the IEP team chair, the general education teacher are essential to move the process forward, along with any other of the specialists who conducted the evals. Can I just go back to just the other piece in terms of MTSS process? Typically with parents, for example, who come into schools and say, I'm very concerned about my child, I'm requesting an evaluation, the same process still applies. We cannot deny or delay testing and say, well, let's put them into an MTSS process. Typically what ends up happening, they'll say, well, there's dysregulation happening in the classroom, what can you do? The principal might say, well, let's get them on a behavioral improvement plan or something. That's great, that should happen, but at the same time, because there's been a request, we have to move forward with the evaluation. So a consent must send out. We have 5 school days from the time of that request from the parent in order to send out that request to parents. And the supports can still be happening. It doesn't mean that it stops or we just wait until testing. Tier 2 supports, Tier 3 supports can continue to happen while the evaluation is taking place.
Thank you, through the chair. If there were more resources made available to the special education department, how would you see utilizing those? And that's a very vague question, so if you're not prepared to answer it and you want to follow up in an email, that's fine too.
I think I would defer. I mean, it really depends. I mean, if you're giving me a blank check, there's so much that I can do with that, just being very honest. But yes, my priority would be ensuring that all students, from what I've heard from educators, and there was some educators who came up here with very clear data and very clear information, where I would want to put more resources in terms of the direct services to our students.
Just building on Ms. Patel's question, I believe that one of the requests for Wednesday was some ideas for possible line items for inclusion around issues of inclusion in teaching. So if Wednesday we could have some of those, that'd be fantastic.
Sure.
Thank you for being here. Is there more to your district report?
No, that's the end of the district report.
All right, we have a personnel report. Is there anything you would like to add?
I have to celebrate some of our wonderful educators who are retiring, and so it deserves a pause. So I wanted to celebrate some retirements. Paulina Uccello, Assistant Director for Food and Nutrition Services, 28 years of service. She's retiring on 5/7/25. Congratulations, Paulina. And we also have Jane Gardner, first grade teacher, 27 years of service, and she's retiring on June 30, 2026. So thank you to all our retirees for all your years of service and dedication to our SPS students. I also have some resignations. We have Emily Boyd from Browner School. She's a grade 1 teacher. We have Kelsley Schroeder. She's a Healy teacher, 2nd grade. Kristen Whalen Patterson, Somerville High School speech and language pathologist. Michelle Roberts at Winter Hill Community Innovation School. She's a half Spanish teacher, 0.5. And Evan Perry, El Sistema Director. We also continue to provide some opportunities to staff within our district that have been able to move up the ladder. So we have Danielle Barry. She works in facilities right now, transportation facilities and safety. She moved up from the work that she was doing with Dr. Jessica Poston Davis. Lillian Kelly, she went from per diem substitute to a special ed AIM paraprofessional. She's doing that because she's covering a leave. And also Nicholas Triant from paraprofessional to Dean of Students. And we continue to hire per diem substitutes, 9 this month. So shout out to Mary Baxter for her great work recruiting and supporting our substitutes. Thank you, Mary. And we also hire new athletic coaches. So we have Ashley Fury, she's the girls' freshman softball coach. Brian Garrity, the boys' crew head coach. And Julia Sinton, for the cross-country indoor track and field. So those are our latest hires in the athletic department, and our HR department has posted all our new positions, and the hiring administrators are already busy hiring for the 25-26 school calendar year. Our hope is that we will have no vacancies after June 30th. So that's our goal right now. And that's the end of the report.
Okay, thank you so much. Are there any questions about the personnel report? Yes, Ms. Barish?
I noticed that our Chief Communications Officer is named on this, and I wondered if you can tell us when we might get to meet that person.
Yes, he was, that's interesting. He was hired, I don't know if it was shared earlier on, but he has been hired. Unfortunately, there were some personal challenges that he was facing, and he could not make his transition. My dream and hope was to make the transition right as soon as we hire him, but personal challenges have delayed his transition. So he will be starting here July 1st. Yes, those are great news. Unfortunately, again, things outside of our control.
So we can expect to meet him sometime after July 1st?
That's correct,
okay.
Yeah. He was actually planning to come from California for a 3-day visit and then head back. But again, more things have challenged his plan, so now we're going to have to wait until July 1st. Yeah.
Okay, if there's nothing else on the personnel report, that brings us to some subcommittee reports to approve. I will entertain a motion.
I move to accept all the subcommittee reports.
Second.
Yep.
I have a motion by Dr. Phillips, seconded by Dr. Ackman. If there is no discussion, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to new business. Dr. Ackman, do we have a SHORE update yet?
I do. I haven't written it, and I'm happy to write it and put it in the folder, and can do it either, for the public later. But the major note is that the SHORE tuition is going up by 4% for next year. That was voted in order to alert districts as early as possible. And they are in negotiation with their teachers union, and so, but they're confident that what they have, the money they're bringing in and the 4% increase will cover their increases.
Dr. Carmona, is that something that is reflected in our budget, or is that new?
That's when I heard that, I was like, where's my budget report here? I need to really weigh that increase, and I don't want to say good news or bad news. It's news that I actually have to really put into perspective. So thank you for sharing that. But that's definitely, I have to look into that.
Ms. Patel?
Through you, I don't know if this is to the superintendent or to Dr. Ackman. I don't know, unless you said this and I wasn't paying attention, I apologize. I know we have kids who intermittently go to the SHORE, but I don't know kind of collectively what the number of students are that are there. I know they're not always there all year.
I can find that. As of last count, I can give you exact numbers. It was like 8 kids total since the beginning of the year. I'm like 90% sure of that number.
Okay, and they may or may not be there all year.
They are almost never there all year.
Thank you.
I, again, am happy to put that in the report that I put in.
Okay, thank you so much for that. If there are no questions on that, that brings us to a report out of school committee coordinated office hours. I know this happened already more than a month ago or whatever it was, but if anyone has any news that they would like to share from their office hours, now would be the time to do so. Ms. Patone and then Dr. Ackman.
Thank you through you. First, I want to thank everyone who came out for office hours. It's always a really nice opportunity to hear from the community. It's always never just budget. It's all different kinds of issues and often all different kinds of creative ideas. So I will try to be really brief. I did write something up and I'm happy to send it to the committee, but I'll try to hit the highlights. At the Kennedy, there was lots to talk about the pool. But the interesting thing, besides the fact that the communications were challenging and that why was there an imbalance for 6 weeks, and have we fixed our process, that's, to monitor the pool. The thing that came up with that was really interesting to me was the pool is a public pool that gets scheduled during school hours. So like seniors come in and use the swimming pool during school hours. And so sometimes the administration is concerned about the safety of students because you have adults coming into the pool. There's a separate entrance for the pool, which is fantastic, but there's only one elevator. And the one elevator goes through the main part of the building. So this is something that, I don't know, maybe should be brought up at the joint committee, or whether or not the administration thinks this is really a need, so you guys can decide whether or not you really think it should be pursued or not. Around, should there be an outdoor entrance with a ramp so that people can access the pool as opposed to having to walk through the main front door and go through the elevator, because I think it limits the use of the pool at some level, like, because the rec wants to do more programming, but the school, not surprisingly, has issues with people coming in and out of the building. So I'm just going to flag that. You guys can, if you don't mind, administration, look at that and see whether or not that's a real concern of yours and bring it back to the body, and we can decide whether or not it should be pursued. People at Kennedy are super excited about the front outdoor space being redesigned, and there was requests around having students be involved, and it sounds like that is something that often happens. There's questions about after school in terms of clubs being announced. For some families, the announcements are too late for families to take advantage of clubs. So they have to find support for their kids or activities for their kids before clubs get announced. And there's a question about the Summer of Yes program, which I think got eliminated, the summer program. I could be wrong. And there was a concern about rising K to second grade and whether or not there's enough free summer programming to meet the needs of those kids. And I know we get a summer update at some point, so again, I didn't validate all this. This is what I was hearing. I've had a couple of people ask, and I'm not saying I'm advocating for this, but switching the common planning time half days Wednesdays to Fridays, and whether or not that was something that was ever considered. Because for some families, that might be more convenient to have a shorter day on a Friday than a Wednesday. And I'm not implying that everyone wants this, but it came up. And, we're continuing to get a lot of feedback about the after-school programming for teens, and whether or not, we're really maximizing the utilization of the high school. There's some concern, particularly around once the ECHO program is up and running at the high school, which is, for people who don't know, the program where our seniors are going to do projects and internships, and they're going to be leaving school early, and whether or not the library really can, the public library, might be burdened with that exodus of students that are supposed to be doing work or research or whatever they're doing. So I think these were good concerns, and hopefully that's something that's getting looked into. And we continue to have questions about middle school and out of school, after school for our middle school students programming. And then I had a particular constituent who talked about the status of the GSAs in our K-8 schools and whether or not every school has one, and whether or not we really have enough LGBTQ plus spaces for our students.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Dr. Ackman, you wanted to go next, and then Mr. Wright.
Thank you. So a number of the constituents I spoke with were concerned about ICE and ICE in schools and what it meant for student attendance. I was proud to be able to report that, from what we heard from the district, that, our district and our community has stepped up, made sure that there are ways of getting the students to school. many people asked how they could support, so I directed them to the SFLC and family liaisons. There's a lot of concern about rodents inside of Winter Hill and East Somerville Community School, like parents who are quite angry that their children see rats during the school day. I stand firmly at their side in my anger as well, and my disappointment in the city that that's something we haven't figured out to prevent. I would really love, I know we're very full, but I would love to hear what the remediation plan is over the summer in specifically those two buildings for rodents. And then, to build on what Member Patone said is, the third grade swimming lessons that got missed. I know you brought that up, if it wasn't the last meeting, the one before, with many thoughtful suggestions. And I just want to reinforce wanting to find out the options because, one family asked if there was any chance of doing it in 4th grade, and I said I'd ask. So that's that. I really appreciate it.
Mr. Green?
I think it's a testament to this community spirit that motivates our families. Although I was not able to have any Winter Hill families attend, I did have staff and parents from other families, but everyone I talked to wanted to talk about the Winter Hill School and what we can do to make that experience better. So building on that situation, building on the growing reality that we are going to be in Edgeley for longer than any of us would like, how can we make that experience better? What can we do around open space, around the need for them to share resources with the East, like the auditorium, and yes, just general maintenance issues. Although several staff pointed out that things had improved dramatically since last year, so I do want to make sure that the district is aware that that progress was made, even though we still a long way to go.
Who wanted to give us an update? Mr. Bitone?
Thank you. So I spoke with about 10 different constituents during my hour. I received input about removing Good Friday as a day off in our district. So that's something that bubbles up every now and again. And then more broadly about preserving our neighborhood school model for our district. I think that came up in the context of the redevelopment of the Winter Hill School and possibly the Brown School. So a strong desire to preserve that feel. Questions about the length of the school day, and in particular how difficult it is for some families on that early release Wednesday. And then some questions about wanting every 8th grade student to have an opportunity to learn algebra. So bringing that back. That's it.
Dr. Phillips, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I learned that I'm really bad at scheduling office hours because nobody can attend apparently when I hold office hours. So should we do it in the fall? I will do it differently, and I will certainly suggest to anyone who serves in the future on school committee that they consult everyone else who gets lots of people to show up.
May I make a suggestion? Having other electeds, it makes it not, some of the conversation isn't about the school budget, but man, do people show up.
Yeah, I will tell you that I've never had a solo one with more than 2 people. So it's not you.
Don't take it personally, Eleanor.
I just want to add that Eleanor Barish is probably the only one of us who, I think more than once, has held office hours in the rain, literally. So, you may not get a lot of people, but you are all in. The 2 things, Emily Ackman also all in the rain. The 2 things that I think we heard that I wanted to add, one was more support for field trips, particularly when folks are going in nature's classroom. I heard one of the the perennial ones that we often get. Why can't the district's enrollment policy cover pre-K? Those are the last two I remember. What do you remember?
And then the other one from the one that Sarah and I did together was about dress code. And I think this is more about making sure administrators understand what our dress code is and what that means on the ground than us necessarily thinking about our dress code again. And I did discuss that with Dr. Carmona at some point recently. Perhaps a topic for professional development for administrators at some point. Ms. Patel?
Thank you, through you. There was one item that came up in my mind as we were sitting here. We had the conversation with the student reps at the high school, and I just wanted to flag that the students are doing advocacy around transportation, in particular for the population of students that live near the Mystic housing, and how they had data to show that it's difficult for those students and the attendance records for those students to get to the school, because we all know there's no public bus that runs that route. It's a north-south route, if I'm doing my compass correctly. So I just wanted to flag that, and I think they've done some really interesting work, and whether or not public or whether or not the city should be considering. I know it's tricky because once you start talking about city and transportation, then there's a whole equity question, and it's more than just one space. But I just wanted to flag that work that's being done, and that I consider those the kind of things that part of our office hours, the feedback we're getting.
Dr. Acton?
I just want to yes and what Member Batone said, not just advocacy, but like research-driven advocacy, and like the effort they have put in is impressive and substantial and, thoughtfully executed. And I just want to, they have done profound work, and it is impressive, and I think we need to be doing what we can to elevate it.
Agreed. Mr. Green?
Having the honor to represent those students, I can say that Councilor Klingon and I have met with at least some of the organizing leaders of that movement about ways they can get that information before the MBTA, and I believe Representative Barber's also met with them. So we're doing what we can to get that information in front of the people who can do the things that need being done. Also, go north side busting in Somerville.
Okay. With that brings us to March and April bill rolls that we need to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Green, seconded by Dr. Phillips. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to a transfer
Real
of
quick,
funds.
just so people at home, we did review these in a previous meeting. We're not
Yes,
doing
so
this on...
just so the audience knows, we review these in our finance subcommittee meetings, and people ask questions, and there's a process. We just also revote them here, just so the audience is aware that we are paying attention and discussing those. Thank you for that. So there's a transfer of funds motion that we also discussed in finance.
Motion that the school committee approves the transfer of funds from the salary account T9921105-511101 to the special education account in the amount of,
Oh, I think it's another account number. And then
oh,
it's
thank you, the account number, $619-6992. I was like, we're not transferring that. Dash 530100 in the amount of $200,000. And again, this is a request from the superintendent to transfer funds from a salary account to a special education account.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Patone, seconded by Mr. Green. If there is no discussion, yes, Mr. Green?
If, and we should, and this is a matter of state regulation, so we should be doing these kind of transitions more and more. But if we're going to be doing this on a regular basis and having this on a regular basis, is there anything we can do to shorten those account numbers so that they're actually something that is followable in the future? That's something to ask Bobby to work on this summer if possible.
Yes. Okay, so I have a motion by Ms. Patone, seconded by Mr. Green. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to field trips.
I move to approve field trip on June 9th, 2025 for 50 students from the Healy School to visit Canopy Lake Park, and from Wisconsin, in Salem, New Hampshire as an end-of-year celebration. Travel via school bus, student cost $25. June 16, 2025, 47 students from our Genziano school will visit, thank you, Lake Park in Salem, New Hampshire as an end-of-year celebration. Travel via school bus, student cost $29.
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Phillips. I believe that was seconded by Mr. Bitone. If there is no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to scale diploma requests.
I move to approve the following scale diplomas. Elsa Melissa Vasquez Perez, Angel Savera Segura, Wilson Reyes Lopez, Aquila Don Nacimiento, Carlos Garcia Lanes, Lourdes Guevara, Jamie Lopez Lopez, and Renelle Villavicenicios, all of Somerville, Massachusetts.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Green, seconded by Dr. Ackman. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
All opposed? Motion carries. Yay. And we have something we need to, someone to tell us.
Congratulations to these students. I did have my one-on-one check-in with Jocelyn Marte, who's the director of SCALE, who informed me that all of these students are in the GOLD program. So I thought that was just nice to share with you. Yes, it's quite remarkable how many students are graduating.
Can you just remind us what?
Can you tell me what the goal of the program is real quick?
Absolutely. So the GOLD program is for students who come to our district who are maybe over what we call, kind of over age but undercredited. So perhaps will age out of the high school. So we have a partnership between Somerville High and SCALE where they'll spend 1 or 2 years at Somerville High, and then they'll transition to SCALE when they age out, but we still kind of wrap around and support them and do a lot of work to support their diplomas. And I think the program was working for many years. I know when I assumed this role was really working to get it, its legs under it for what it's worth. There weren't many graduates every year. To see this number is quite a testament to, I think, the leadership, the students, and the support and collaboration.
That's very exciting. Thank you for that update. Mr. Green?
Just for context, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe nationwide the graduation percentage for those students, for the students who meet that profile, is in a single-digit percentile. So this is phenomenal news. We're actually moving the needle. I just want people to understand how important this is.
All right, now we have some acceptance of grants. I will entertain a motion.
I move to accept all federal entitlement and continuation grants, all state continuation grants awarded to Somerville Public Schools, including a TUF grant for $3,000 to Emily Department for spell field trips. I'm just going to ask a question. Is that Tufts the university, or is Tuft a organization that we're unaware of?
Or foundation.
Or foundation, my bad.
I can look into
get
that.
back to you.
I can look into that.
Second.
So I have a motion by Dr. Ackman, seconded by Ms. Patone. If we would like to hold off on it, we can, until we find out the details, unless there is an urgency to accepting it.
Thank you, through the chair. I don't think there's urgency. Spell is for the summer, so I think we can look into
We'll
that
make
and
sure
get back to the
to
committee.
get an answer and have it on the next agenda. Okay, that brings us to unfinished business. Is there any MSBA updates?
I know last time we talked about the CAGs and how if there's any information that is coming from the CAGs group, from the Mr. Green's representation in the committee. So I don't know if there's anything around that. But all I have to tell you is I attended the last MSBA meeting to certify the OPM, and that was approved by all the MSBA members. So the honors project manager that the city has selected as the prime provider to do the work has been already accepted by MSBA. So just wanted to check.
Through the chair, do we know the name of the OPM?
We know the name, but I don't have it in front of me. Yeah.
It's a
Yeah, exactly. So I can go to the name of the OPM. So.
Okay. All right, that brings us to items from committee members. Ms. Patone?
Thank you, through you, Chair, to the superintendent. One thing that I would really like to see on Wednesday at our budget meeting is how the district might see being able to bring on more math interventionists. I don't know what the right number is, whether or not it's going to cost additional resources or whether there's a way to reallocate funds, but I really would love to, as a district, see us to continue on the path that we started moving forward with building out that capacity. And whether or not you recommend doing that, because that matters to me as well. What I think is important may not be the priority for the administration.
Okay. Yes, Dr. Phillips?
Thanks to our great finance team. Almost all the information you requested at last week's finance meeting is already in the packet for this week. Thanks to Ms. Garcia for getting it up there. I think there's one more document to come tomorrow, but take a look.
Thank you for that. Are there any other items from committee members? Yes, Mr. Bitton.
Thank you, Chair. Through you. I just want to announce 2 upcoming items. The first is a meeting of the MLPAC. This is Parent Advisory Committee for Multilingual Learners, or students who are learning in multiple languages, on May 29th at 6:30 at the East Somerville Community School cafeteria. For those who don't know, the PAC is really, it's sort of the counterpart for what you see in the CPAC, the Special Education Parent Advisory Council. It's a fantastic opportunity to get involved and advocate for students, for your students, for those watching. So really encourage folks to get involved there. And then something that was sent to school committee members that I found really interesting. The Center for Teen Empowerment is hosting the Somerville Youth Peace Conference on Saturday, May 31st, starting at 7 p.m., also at the East. And it's going to be an inspiring lineup of youth-created performances, including theater, spoken word, and dance, to highlight the talents and perspectives of Somerville's young people. So just wanted to make people aware.
Great, thank you for that. Yes, Ms. Patone.
Through you, I think I'm looking at the packet for finance, and I guess I'll email because it's not in our agenda, because I had some questions about what was in it, but I will email that to the administration. Thank you.
Okay. All right. If there is nothing further, yes, Ms. Panay-Norfolk.
Thank you. Just a reminder to you all and to those still listening, budget season for the full city extends through the end of June. So appreciate the public comment tonight, and I know the extensive comment last week. But you all have more opportunities to share your comments with the city, particularly to the City Council, on June 3rd, which is our public hearing on the budget, starting at 6 o'clock via Zoom. So you can find the link on the City Council portal, and I encourage folks who would like to share their thoughts on the city budget to join that public hearing as well. Similar to this style, you'll get 2 minutes to share.
Thank you. Mr. Green?
I appreciate that, like the schools, the city has public hearing. I'm curious to know if there's any thought in the City Council of joining the school committee having public comment at meetings.
I am not aware of any discussion amongst the council to add that. That's a good question.
Okay. On that note, if there is nothing further, do we have any condolences this evening? All right, then with that, we are adjourned. Have a good night, everyone.